My heart is flaccid now. Well, welcome everybody to episode 4 of the Extremely Lowbudget Podcast. With me this week is the one who needs to learn a lesson, Derek, the detective on the case, Alex, and I, of course, am the gamester overlord, Kyle.
I wanted fun nicknames.
That I don't have any.
I had some. I actually did come up with
some,
but I don't remember what they were.
Yeah, that was.
I
came
think
up with that
Pighead
while
would
I
have been
was
okay.
peeing upstairs, and I was like, "That's what I'll say."
I thought of one when I was watching Saw 2, and I was like, "That's clever," and I didn't write it down, so I guess we'll never know if it was clever.
Idiot. This week we're gonna play a game. Not really. We're gonna be talking about
yes, I've been waiting for a game episode.
We are going to talk about 8. That's right, 8 Saw movies, and we're going to attempt to do this in record time so that this video is not 8 hours long like the Predator one.
Yeah, we're shooting for another 4-hour-long video.
No, we're shooting for a 2-hour-long video.
30 minutes per Saw movie. Full disclosure, I did not make it through all the Saw movies, but I have seen them before.
Yeah. I was the only one that actually did make it through all 8
because
Saw
he was
movies.
the only one who took 2 days off of work and school to do it. So
two sick days that played to my advantage, and I managed to watch them. It was not intentional, and I actually didn't watch them during the time I only watched them after 5, which is when I would have been home from work, because for the rest of the day I was watching the Exorcist movies while doing homework. So, to be fair, I could have done this no matter what. I'm just a really dedicated movie watcher. So it kicks off with Saw.
Is that I was alive for all of them coming out, and the posters stick out to me more than the movies do because I remember being horrified of them in the movie theater.
Oh, that's fair.
God, I literally do not remember any. I remember hearing about some of the Saw movies maybe as a kid, but I think maybe if I was looking through posters at like a shop, I may have seen some of them.
Yeah, Blockbuster. Yeah. I remember them at Blockbuster too.
Literally none of it stuck out to me until
Yes Man.
Yeah, until Yes Man. That would have been the first time I really thought about Saw. Is there was a scene where Jim Carrey's watching Saw, and I was kind of like, I should see those movies at some point. And we did. We saw 7 of them after they'd all come out. And just in time for the 8th one to come out, we kind of had I guess there was a couple of years.
Yeah, there was
between, for me and Derek at least.
The posters are scarier than the movies are, for me, anyways. The movies I don't find scary.
I think they're fitting.
I remember this one. I
feel like I might have seen that at Blockbuster. No, I don't find the Saw movies scary, but I do think there's something like disturbing about the posters. I remember this.
I don't think that the Saw movies are meant to be scary though. I think that they're
meant to be kind of disturbing.
Yeah, they're intended to be a more psychological kind of horror.
Yeah,
rather than pop out and scare you horror.
Because if you just put yourself in any of those situations, you'd be like, holy shit.
There's
I like to think that I'm a bit smarter than these characters because most of the characters are just complete idiots in these movies.
I'd also like to assume that, but I don't know. If I was in their shoes, maybe I would miss a lot.
Yeah,
of
but I
things
think it. Yeah. Well, and I don't know.
I can't say for certain if I'd be good at it because I've never done a saw trap. So.
Yeah, hopefully
I'm not going to claim that I have either because that's how you get put in a saw trap.
Yeah, hopefully I would know how to use a key, and I wouldn't drop it, and hopefully I'd be able to try and reason with the people I'm in there with, but.
That's the other thing is the other people that you're in with. You can't guarantee that they're going to be smart. So even if you're the smartest person in the room, you might die because of them.
So let's figure out what actually happens in the Saw movie, shall we? Saw 1. The premise is 2 guys are locked in a room for
Adam and Lawrence
mysterious reasons.
This is my favorite trap.
And they're trying to
stop
get
you
out.
here? That's my favorite trap of the movie.
So this one's kind of tough because they're less of Saw traps and it's more of an overarching Saw game, which isn't necessarily the same for the rest of the series because there's more.
Right.
What Adam and Gordon go through in this movie is not anything that any of the characters in the rest of the series have to go through.
Yes.
There is not one specific task that they must overcome. It's a series of things that they must do.
Which I really like about it.
Yeah.
That's what that's probably my favorite, when any of the movies do that, where they complete one thing and then they go on to have to complete more. I like that. That's my favorite. Instead of just like find the key and then they unlock it and they're done. Kind of like the trap that you saw, the reverse bear trap. It's just like, that's all you gotta do, get the key.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's still I really love that.
Saw 2's is also like a little bit of a prototypey version of that, because in Saw 2 it's like they have multiple traps to overcome,
Yeah.
but they don't have to. Like there's no incentive to, other than like, oh, you're gonna die of poison, but they don't even know where the traps are. Whereas in the other ones, it's like, you're in this room, you solved it, door opens, go to the next one.
Yeah.
So Adam's game is to do nothing but survive.
Which is
That's all he has to do for the
rough.
whole movie. He just has to be there and survive.
and he loses because
Actually,
he wins.
that's not true. We learn kind of a little bit later that Adam's actual game was to unlock his shackle. Was the whole game.
Right.
And that was made unwinnable
by
because
Amanda.
his key was floating in the water, and when he woke up, it went straight down
We
the
find
drain.
out in Saw 3 that was not Jigsaw's plan.
But we also learned that he had 100 other options on how to get out of that room, because 2 other people managed to escape.
Right. You're right.
So,
I don't know.
But overall, Adam's game is to survive. Gordon, on the other hand, is tasked with killing Adam in order to escape the room. Now, this kind of...
We got a real backwards system here, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Adam's goal is to survive, and he loses because he wins. Gordon's goal is to kill Adam, and he
but they ran out of
fails, and then
time.
he wins.
Well, I guess the point was to run out of time and still live.
Yeah,
Right.
but then Adam still gets fucked at the end, because he doesn't... He's...
No matter what.
Yeah, but we'll get there. The first actual trap we see in use in this movie is the barbed wire trap, where a man who was cutting himself,
A big fatty.
who cuts himself.
That makes it worse, guys. You're the reason he cuts himself.
Yeah. He cuts himself, and Jigsaw deems that he does not find life. I said that in a
Good.
very weird way.
Jigsaw deems that he does not find life good.
Enough. Yeah, he's not living his life to his full potential, and so to teach him to open his eyes, Jigsaw catches him and places him inside of barbed wire. The guy has to climb out of the barbed wire to survive. The irony of it is he has to cut himself one last time to awaken himself and start a new
Multiple
life.
last times.
And Big Fat Boy fails. He gets strung
Fat
up.
boy.
He gets strung up and cut to death.
The next trap that the movie shows is kind of odd. The guy...
The key one? Where he has to guess the key code?
Yeah,
Right.
so
This is so unfair.
It's
Yeah.
because, like, there's 1,000 numbers on these walls.
And they just keep throwing stuff at him.
Not only is there 1,000 numbers on these walls, but they're all the same numbers repeated, because there's
well,
only...
let's explain what the trap is before we do this.
Okay.
So what this guy has to do, he's first off covered in a flammable substance.
Yeah.
He's in a room by himself with one light, and that light is a candle. On the walls are 100 different combination codes that when he opens, there's a safe in the room with him. He has to try each combination on the safe to open it up and get the key out without dying.
And there's glass all over.
There's glass on the floor,
and he's
also
barefoot and naked.
He's probably poisoned, I think, and that's why there's a time limit on it.
He is poisoned.
So this guy's just kind of
And you know what?
up shit creek.
The
right
greatest thing about it is the reasoning that he's in there.
now. He's pretending to be sick.
He pretended to be sick.
Yeah, so then he made him sick, and if he
was
didn't want to be sick... Yeah.
That is so rough.
It was so unfair.
It doesn't make sense why this guy is in the trap, because all Jigsaw says is you were sick and it hurt other people. It's like, how?
Well, I mean,
Doesn't
I
make
guess
sense.
the thing is since he wasn't a focus on it, they didn't explain anything. So
Yeah.
maybe people really got hurt or whatever, but we don't know how. So.
Yeah. Anyways, the guy, he's frantically trying to put in these codes, gets a little bit too close to the candle, lights himself on fire, and dies.
Yep.
Right. Unwinnable trap. Because there's, like I said, there's 10 numbers. You have 0 through 9. That's 10 digits in total. Just repeated on these walls 1,000 times.
Yeah, but
he might as well just sit there and try it on his own.
But depending on what... they usually go up to, double digits, right?
Oh,
The combinations.
that's right. They
So
usually go up to
how
like
was
40.
there any way that he was gonna? Because the numbers weren't separated in any way.
Yeah.
It was just written out. So he had to like. How did he know that one number didn't go to the number to the left or to the right of it?
Right, which
He
is
just
what
had
I'm
to
saying.
guess.
He should have just sat there and just gone
Maybe,
away.
yeah,
at
maybe
it.
he should have, and then he wouldn't even have to have had picked up the
Candle at all.
Or maybe he.
And then he still died of poison.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I mean, there was no way he was gonna get it. He had like an hour or something.
yeah.
So the reason we know of these traps is because there's a detective on the case, a man by the name of David Tapp, who we all have a soft spot in our heart for.
Oh yes.
Because this is Danny Glover.
I had a hard spot in my pants for him.
Danny Glover of Predator
Honestly.
2, my friends, was in this movie as Detective Tapp.
Hell yes. He goes from world's greatest cop, able to beat the Predator and Gary Busey, into world's worst cop who picks the wrong guy as the as the criminal,
Gets his
partner killed, gets his throat cut open, and gets himself killed.
So throughout the story, Adam and Gordon are kind of learning things about each other. Gordon knows somewhat what's happening because Detective Tapp came for Gordon and thought that Gordon was the killer because there was a pen of Gordon's found in one of the saw traps.
Yeah.
While Gordon is being talked to by his lawyer, he gets backstory on Amanda's trap. Amanda was a drug addict and possibly the most famous Saw victim in the entire franchise.
I'd say so.
Because her trap was the reverse bear trap, which is the most widely known trap of any Saw movie.
Right. It's in all of them, to my knowledge. At least, it's in the first 3, guaranteed.
No, I do think it makes an appearance in all of them.
Yeah, and it's in the last 3, guaranteed.
Yeah, no, it's in all of them.
So there's only like one in the middle that I'm not sure on. I don't know if it's in 4.
It is. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I don't think it's in 4. Unless we see a picture of it.
Alright, well, 4 is the one that it's not in.
Potentially. It's in most of them.
Yeah.
It's the most widely known and seen Saw trap.
Probably the fan favorite of the entire series. The reverse bear trap. So, Amanda has to... She's got a reverse bear trap on her face that when it opens, it will tear her bottom jaw from her top jaw and kill her.
King
What
Kong
she has
style.
to do is cut a key out of her cellmate or whatever, her addict roommate, who's incapacitated on the floor. She thinks he's dead. He's not really dead. Kind of unimportant. This guy
seems like an easy trap to win.
Yeah.
Cause she gets out, struggles with it for like 5 seconds, just runs over and cuts the guy open.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then she's got to be the person that kills him. That's what makes it.
I know,
there's
but
the psychological.
And then you also have to you have to dig through his guts to find the key. So
now here's the thing: Amanda regards this as the best thing to ever happen to her because it gave her a new view on life, and we find out that that's really important later. But more on that later.
We'll get back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get there,
as they say in the Predator review.
We'll get there.
This first movie, I don't know, the saw traps
aren't that good.
Yeah, they're not as clever as they're not as big as the rest of the series. Because those are the saw traps we see in the movie. The rest is just the game.
Right, and I like the game
is not
best.
necessarily yeah. And the game, of course, is the best. But if I'm giving a best saw trap, it's obviously the reverse bear trap for this movie.
I would just give it to the game.
All right.
Because I think the game's it's the most clever, as in there's multiple ways to win, but there's also so many ways to lose.
Yeah.
The thing that takes me away from the game a little bit is it gets super convoluted at the end. Like, it becomes a little hard to follow when you find Zepp's involved in it and everything. But we'll get there. The next trap, which a lot of people probably don't even remember because it's not necessarily someone that we know being tested, is a guy who is in John Kramer's workshop. He's strapped to a board, and he has two nails aimed at his neck or his head.
They're
something
two
like
drills.
that.
Yeah, they're aimed
drills.
at the side of his neck.
Yeah, I forgot that was even in here.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing happens
we don't
with
know
it.
a single thing about this guy.
I saw it more as a Jigsaw kidnapped him and was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what to do with him. in a minute.
But what happens is Detective Tapp and his partner are, breaking into Jigsaw's workshop.
Right.
And they find this guy. They find the guy, but they hide because Jigsaw shows up. Jigsaw goes up, looks at the guy, and then Detective Tapp pops out. And he's like, "Ha, we got you." And Jigsaw's like, "Nope," and activates the trap. So now the drills are going in, and he's like, You want to save him? Well, then the key is in this little box, but there's 700 keys on this ring, and so the detective's trying to unlock it. He can't do it. Tapp's got Jigsaw on his knees with a gun to the back of his head. Jigsaw shoots out an Assassin's Creed hidden blade from his wrist and slits Detective Tapp's throat and runs off. The partner, Tapp's partner, uses his gun to shoot the trap off and saves the guy. He does save the guy's life, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that guy doesn't die. He saves him. Now, Tapp is not dead. He's still in the movie. But the partner chases after Jigsaw and trips a wire, which is a trap that Jigsaw set up. Attached to the wire are 5 shotguns hung from the ceiling. When he trips it, the shotguns shoot and kill Tapp's partner in front of Tapp, and now it's personal.
Yeah, but there's also that weird moment right before that where Jigsaw's running down the hallway and the Asian partner just guns him down with a shotgun, super close range. Right? Super close range, just shoots him in the back. He was pretty close.
No, he wasn't.
Jigsaw goes flying and lands on his face.
Yeah, he was all the way across.
I don't know.
I mean, it's okay. It's in range of a shotgun.
Yeah, I just felt man, that must be one good bulletproof vest because Jigsaw's
or maybe he missed and then he just fell over. They don't explain any of that.
Yeah, they don't because I think
he had a shotgun.
I think it is a shotgun. I think it's a mislead though. I think because it's supposed to be look, Jigsaw's immortal. You can't kill him. But then it's
I don't think that's what it was at all.
I don't know.
They don't say whether you hit him or not, or if he was wearing a bulletproof vest.
I think it was just to build suspense for the movie.
Well, yeah.
Something not super significant, but Tapp is obsessed on catching Jigsaw because his partner died, and he is positive that Gordon is the man.
Yeah.
So now we learn why Gordon's in the trap. Gordon is in the trap because he's unfaithful to his wife and cheating on him, but not really because Jigsaw didn't know that.
No, he never banged that chick.
Yeah, so we really don't know why Gordon is in this trap.
Yeah, do we ever find out? It's because he's got Jigsaw has a vendetta in the later movies. This is the guy who failed my X-ray. This is the doctor who was supposed to perform surgery on me.
The only other thing that Gordon had with Jigsaw was that he worked on Jigsaw.
Right, he's the one who said you have cancer.
Yeah, well, and then when they show Zepp as the janitor or whatever, and Gordon was like, "Oh, the patient has this, whatever," and then Zepp comes in and he's like, "Hey,
his name is John."
His name's John, yeah.
Yeah.
His name is John. You should respect him, and I respect you, John, and we're friends. It's cut to.
He's actually a really interesting guy. That's his quote.
Yeah.
And then we cut to later on in the movie, and it's like, oh, well, get wrecked, guy.
John's like, yeah, I hated that Zepp guy. He was so annoying. I really wish he wouldn't talk to me.
Too clingy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, we're led to believe that this is why he's in the trap, is because he was having an affair on his wife.
Which I think is the reason why.
Yeah, and I mean, John Kramer is a superhuman that knows all, so... later movies, there's things he knows that there's no way he could have known, but he does. So maybe he knew that he was going to have an affair on his wife.
Yes. Because that Asian chick was really flirty with him.
Adam was hired to be the one to take pictures of this whole thing, and that's kind of why I assumed he was in it.
I think so.
Because he makes money by ruining other people's lives by taking pictures of them doing things. That's essentially the reason.
Which it feels like Adam would be the kind of person that Jigsaw would be like, we need to work together because me and you share the same exact morals because they do the same thing.
Well, but then
Adam doesn't kill them.
Adam was working with Tapp, and Tapp was trying to take Jigsaw.
Yeah, that's
down.
Right. Because then the reason, that's why. Because we find out that he wasn't even taking pictures of the affair for the reason of he was taking pictures of the affair because Detective Tapp wanted him to.
Yeah. The impression that we get is that Adam's in there because he takes pictures He's taking the pictures for Tap.
Right.
And again, Kramer knows all. So he knows that Gordon was going to be unfaithful, and he knows that Adam makes his living by taking pictures. That's really, like, the best way we can explain this. Now, a lot of things happen within the room. There's a lot of kind of fake outs to try and get out of
acting.
it.
Lots of bad acting.
That's one thing that really took me out of it was Adam.
See, it's Adam is the worst.
You guys don't like Adam.
He's worse.
Gordon was terrible.
Gordon
They're
was
both bad.
okay. Well, I think wasn't he trying to hide an accent? Yeah.
But still, it just was so
Well,
bad.
yeah, but there was some things that
I don't get
Gordon
why
said.
could he not have
that
just been British? What did it change?
I don't know. Yeah.
He's just a British man who married an American wife.
Really, it was both of them though. But
I did not have a problem
I
with
thought
Adam
both
the
of
whole
them were
movie.
really bad, especially Adam though.
Oh,
Well,
God,
okay.
I thought he was fine.
I
I
think
think
the best scene that illustrates that is Adam's fake death scene.
But that's intentionally supposed to be bad acting because he's not an actor.
But that's
he's being
how
told
he
to act like
acts.
you're being poisoned.
But that's how he acts through the whole movie.
No,
I don't know. As it goes on, Adam gets better because, like when Gordon's sawing his foot off, I think Adam's acting and that's okay.
Yeah, Gordon doesn't kill Adam in time. We learned that Zepp is the man that's been watching him this whole movie. Zepp is also playing a game. Well, we don't know that yet.
Okay.
Sorry, we figured that out like at the very end. I forget because I'm on the
That's
inside
pretty much.
track
That's
this
pretty
whole
much.
movie.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much
how
right
it
there.
feels. That's how
Yeah.
it feels when I watch these movies again. I'm like, oh, I know why this is being said.
Yeah, so this is the point in the movie, and this happens in every movie, where it starts, like, happening really fast. Like, everything gets thrown at you right at the end of the movie. Every plot twist you can think of. Zepp's tasked with killing Dr. Gordon's family if Gordon does not kill Adam before the clock runs out. He did not kill Adam, so Zepp goes to kill the family. But Detective Tap busts in and stops him. Zepp flees and goes to where Gordon's being kept so that he can kill
Doesn't he
Gordon.
shoot Tap?
Not yet. Zepp and Tap both arrive at the same place. Zepp does go to where Gordon is because Gordon kills Zepp, or Adam kills Zepp.
After he kills Doctor, or after he kills
Tap?
after he kills Danny Glover.
But they're in the hallway because Zepp walks... So Zepp shoots Tap in the stomach. Tap goes down. He doesn't die. He's actually the main character of the in-canon video game. You play as Detective Tap.
Right. He dies in that
Tap.
though.
Okay.
So he gets himself killed.
I just felt like I'd say that. Then...
to my knowledge, he dies.
Then
anyways.
Zepp... He walks down the hall 2 feet. He doesn't get back in the car and drive somewhere. He walks down the hall 2 feet and opens the door to the game that's being played.
Well, then
now, what happened just prior is Dr. Gordon, in an attempt to save his family, cuts off his own leg, shoots Adam in the shoulder.
Well,
It was in the chest,
he
but
shoots him clearly in the chest.
Turns out it was his shoulder.
Yeah.
Zepp walks in and he's like, Dr. Gordon, I gotta kill you because I couldn't kill your family. And then Adam is like, I'm not dead, and shoots up, grabs a toilet, like the lid to a toilet, you know, the toilet tank, hits Zepp over the head. Zepp goes down, and then he just beats the hell out of Zepp, and Zepp dies. Gordon's like, oh, thank you. I'll be back. I'm gonna, crawl off and bring help. And he crawls out of the room, and we don't see him anymore. We don't know if he's dead. We don't know if he's alive. He's gone. Adam is like, oh, well, shit, it's just me here now. Well, there's been a body on the floor this entire time, this whole movie. And it's a guy who was, possibly played a game. He had poison in his system, shot himself in the head. Only he didn't, because that was John Kramer, the guy who was actually running the game the whole time. He stands up, he looks at Adam, and he's like, oh, game over. Slides the door.
Rips his
Yeah, that's
fake
cool.
gunshot prosthetic off. Yep.
And my favorite part is how this movie felt like its own story. And then yet in Saw 3, they were like, the viewers are confused. So they decided to show us the setup of this entire movie anyways.
Yeah.
What makes the first Saw so great is it could be a fantastic standalone movie.
Yeah.
You don't need any more. Like, everybody is fine without explaining who John Kramer is.
The rest of them are all so connected to where they can't do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they would have just made this one and not made any more, they would have been fine. But I do love some of the other Saws. So.
Yeah. I'm glad they made more.
Yes.
So that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah.
Biggest plot twist was that John Kramer was alive the whole time.
Yeah.
That's
Love it.
really the only big plot twist in this movie. I mean,
Zep
there was a whole mislead that Zep
being
was
in
the
the
main
game.
guy, but he wasn't.
But that still goes along with the whole Kramer.
Right. So, what works, what doesn't about this movie?
So much works.
So much works. I agree.
So much works. If there's anything that doesn't work, it's kind of
the acting.
acting.
Yep. That's the only thing I had.
Acting doesn't work. I'm not a big fan of the color filtering in any of these movies. I don't like
It's an older movie.
Yeah, I think it helps build the tone.
it's all grainy and
world.
green and not very visually appealing to me.
Yeah, I can see how it's just kind of bland.
Yeah, but I think that that's what they were going for, is something really dull that you're like, there is no hope.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what that color palette projects, is like a sense of hopelessness.
Right.
So
I just think
it
I'm sick
works.
of it because it's in every one of them except for Jigsaw. So I kind of am sick of it.
Yeah.
But
it gets old once you've watched the 5th Saw.
Right.
And you're like, man, this is...
so what works? Soundtrack's good.
Yeah.
Love the soundtrack.
Oh, you know what? I'm not a big fan of the wild directing where it like
I like it.
circles around everyone really crazy cutting.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough because
It's a bit gimmicky.
you just want to get to the game, and then they say something, and then you get 2 minutes of the game, and then they're back to explaining something.
I don't know. I thought it all worked. I think like what Derek's talking about is like when Amanda's in the reverse bear trap, the camera does a lot of like
Sure, yeah.
quick cuts of her struggling with it, and I thought it was good. I can't think of another horror movie that does something like that. I think it's unique
It's
to the
probably
Saw
one of the first-
franchise.
Yeah, it's probably one of the first ones that ever did that since
Yeah.
it came
Yeah.
out in 2004.
And I think that it was them working around their low budget. It was like they can't do anything too crazy, so you have to kind of cut it with something. And I thought it helped build suspense. So
You know,
I like it.
my favorite edit is like there's that weird scene where what is it? It's like Dr. Gordon or someone talking, and then suddenly a car drives in front of his face, and then he
Oh, yeah.
blends into the wall. It's so weird.
They've got some like crazy quick cuts.
Oh god,
Like,
the
one
second one is
person's-
a gold mine.
The
for
second and
transitions.
third one.
One person's in a room, they walk through a door, and they're in a whole new.
Yeah, that's the
area.
second one
So
where
good.
he's getting ready for work and he's walking like out of his apartment and then like he walks into the next scene.
Yeah, exactly.
They do that a lot, and the fourth one does that. There's like the scene at the very start, they're investigating somewhere, and he pulls open, like those curtains that they have like dead bodies behind or whatever.
Yeah.
He pulls open those curtains and walks into his house, and it's like at the end of the night, all of a sudden.
Man, even if that doesn't work, that is like,
It's
so
pretty
fun to
cool.
watch.
Yeah, it is.
I like that.
So quickly, give me a rating.
Piddled.
You piddled?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I piddled.
Yeah.
Got a good soaking out of my undies.
I urinated quite a bit during
Yeah.
this one, for sure.
How many
Saw 2.
best Saw movie?
I think I would agree with that. I think Saw 2 is probably my favorite.
2 and 4 are my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give Saw 2 my favorite. But let's get into it.
Marky Mark's brother.
He is in it. Marky Mark Wahlberg, his slightly chubbier brother.
Danny Wahlberg?
Who knows?
Someone Wahlberg.
One of the Wahlbergs. One of the Wahlburgers
Yep.
winds up in this movie.
Yes, sir.
The movie opens on a new trap.
It does.
The guy makes a living doing what Adam did and photographing other people doing things and ruining their lives. He has on a death mask that after 60 seconds will clamp shut on his head. Now there's spikes inside of the death mask.
He's actually an informant. He's a drug deal informant. He doesn't take pictures.
Oh, okay. Well, he makes his money ruining people's lives.
Sure,
So the
ruining
thing-
drug dealers' lives. Jigsaw should really be applauding this guy's efforts, but Venus Flytrap, that's what it's called.
Oh, you ruined the meme I was gonna do, but okay.
All right, cut that out and then do your meme.
No, it's okay. I
He's
don't.
Elvis.
My heart is flaccid now. It will feel forced.
Well, Jesus, what was the
The
meme?
Venus flytrap, anyways.
My
It shuts
heart
on
is
him.
flaccid.
The thing.
Just like I want to look at Kyle's notes, and it's like highlighted and starred. Best meme of the episode.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't write it down. I just thought about doing it. Anyways, after like 60 seconds, the mask will close in on him. It'll juice his head. He'll be donezo.
That's a Raven style.
But the way he gets out of it, or he can get out of it, is there's a key surgically implanted inside of his eyeball. Not
Yep.
his actual eyeball, but
behind
like
the eyeball.
behind his eyeball. So what he has to do is scoop out his own eye to get to the key and unlock the thing. Now this guy cannot even make an incision on his eye to get the key out.
This is one that I wouldn't be able to pass.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I couldn't cut my own eye.
I don't think I can't even picture putting in contacts because it makes me my eyes. I'm so sensitive when it comes to my eyes. I don't like eye drops. I can't handle it.
I can touch my eyes, no problem.
I can't.
No, I mean, yeah, I can because
Yeah,
I
I know
wear
you
contacts, but like I
But-
wouldn't be able to cut my eye.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying I'm so sensitive with my eyes. If Jigsaw really wanted to test my will to live, that's an unfair test because I will fail.
I would just,
100%
at this
of the time.
point, smash my face into that front spot because I'm not living out
I
of
don't
this.
think you could. And just like
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to reach.
you gotta wait until
Yeah.
time's up.
Just sit down and close my eyes and pray or whatever.
Maybe there's another way out of it. You know, the TV was on a stand. Maybe if you put your head underneath that stand, and when the thing came up, it would clasp onto the stand and not crush your head.
And then you just walk out with that.
On, yeah.
It's like a fashion choice.
No, Jigsaw would probably come in and just shoot you because you can play by the rules.
Well, depending on which Jigsaw set it up, I guess.
Yeah, that's my will to live. I showed.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit of a pussy when it comes to touching my eye.
I mean, Jeff did it, and it worked out for him. He cheats with the shotgun in the third one, so.
Yeah. Anyways. The guy fails the test. The thing, he, like, gives up pretty quickly into it. He doesn't even make an incision. He gives up. The thing closes on his head. He falls. Blood drains out.
Yep.
Saw 2. After John Kramer...
By the way, Jigsaw's
I
name
don't
is
know
John
why.
Kramer. I don't know if we said that.
Yeah, we said it in the last one. We meet Eric Matthews, who is probably my favorite character in the entire franchise.
I can agree to that.
He's a cop, but he's being tested by
is.
Jigsaw because he's got a son that he's kind of a dick to. But his son's also a bit of a
Criminal,
degenerate.
yeah.
Now Eric and his crew show up at Jigsaw's place. They've got him.
Mm-hmm.
Jigsaw doesn't even put up a fight. He just goes, I don't think you want to take me out of here. I'm dying of cancer, and you, Eric Matthews, need to be here. And you need to talk to me. Eric's game is literally just to talk to Jigsaw for, like, the course of 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah. It was 2 hours.
Can he do it? We'll find out. Now we cut to the main game. 8 strangers wake up in a house. In one big escape room, as I like to think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the 8 strangers all have something in common, but they don't know what that is. And we do learn what it is later.
We do.
Some of the people in the group do not get to learn what it is. Because there is death that ensues inside of this house.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, pretty much
Almost
immediately.
People in the room, a lot of really rather unimportant people, but 2 pretty important people. One, Eric Matthews' son, the detective's son, is in the escape house. And returning game player Amanda, also in this one. She was the one that survived the reverse bear trap in the first one. Now she's back. She's kind of got the inside track. She knows what's going on because she's had to do this again.
Yeah, and
before.
if you watch her knowing the plot twist at the end, it's pretty obvious. If you don't know the plot twist at the end, it's not obvious.
No. Because there's some things that it's like, no, if like they were clearly trying to mislead the audience, and there's no way you could have figured
Well,
it
no,
out.
I know. I'm saying if you know the ending plot twist and you rewatch the movie, you can see the things and you're like, oh, yes.
Yeah, so the first thing is she finds a tape in the wall that tells him what's going on.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how'd you know? And she's like, oh, I've been in a saw trap before.
Well, I think the biggest...
We'll find out what really is going on in the end.
Yeah, I think the biggest giveaway is that all the characters are sick and bleeding and coughing. She doesn't cough once throughout the whole movie. She's not sick at all.
So, yeah. So the reason they need to get out of this house is because there's a poison filling the air. They're all breathing the poison, and after time, they will die.
It's like after 2 hours they'll die, but in 3 hours the door outside will open.
Right. The weird thing is they're all breathing it in at the same, you know?
Yeah.
So how come... You'd think that the skinny ones would die first. You'd think that it'd be that blonde chick who dies. You'd think that it'd be her, then that other skinny chick who was the prostitute or
Well,
whatever.
their size doesn't really determine the strength of their lungs.
I feel because then because the poison's in your blood, so I think the big guy would be the last to die, but they just kind of die randomly.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, we'll get to it. The first death is a guy that we don't even meet. We don't know his name. We know literally nothing about this guy. He does not follow the rules. He immediately goes, he finds a key, and he goes, puts the key in a door, turns the key, and a gun on the other side of the door goes off and blows a hole through his head.
Yep.
And so that is the first guy to die, right there.
Doesn't the door say, like, don't open or
The
something?
tape, I think, says, like,
Yeah.
do not try and open this door.
Well, don't try and open it using the key that they find. There's
Yeah.
a different way that they have to open the door. I don't remember what it is.
It's waiting. The door is on the timer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now, the next guy is it's a test for one specific character. The character's name is Obi.
Yep.
He was a scammer. He also helped kidnap everyone else in the movie.
Right.
So he, like, drugged them all and helped bring them there, and then was drugged himself and brought there. His test is to climb into a furnace and grab 2 antidotes. He gets to keep 1 antidote, and he gets to give 1 to someone else. Now, there's a clue on the inside of this furnace that clearly states not to take the second cure, like, off the hook. So, what happens when he does grab it
I didn't even
off,
think about that.
Yeah, when he grabs it off the hook, what happens is the door shuts and the incinerator starts and burns him alive.
Well, because the clue says, twist this. Because remember, the tape says, the devil. You have to crawl into the devils or whatever. So what he's supposed to do when the furnace starts is twist it and it'll shut the gas off and he won't die. That's what he's supposed to do. But now that you mention it, if he had
injected himself while the thing was on there and handed out the other one to someone else, he would have survived that trap. Mm-hmm. But instead he gets no one a cure. He dies with both of them on the inside.
Which at this point you're back to square one.
Yep.
We got 2 dead guys, 2 gone cures. We're still safe.
At least they still have the right number, though.
Right.
Behind on antidotes.
Which, do we ever see all the antidotes?
No.
There's
a couple games that weren't played.
I was gonna say.
I think we saw most of them, though. But like the guy that died right at the beginning.
I think we miss out on seeing 3 or 4 of them.
One of them is in the lockbox.
Wow.
One of them's in the lockbox. One of them's in the furnace. One of them is...
Well, 2 of them's in the furnace.
2 of them are in the furnace. One of them's the syringe trap.
And one of them
is the glass shards.
Yeah. So you see 6 out of 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But to be fair, there is potential that there was not a 7th or 8th because Amanda already has the antidote inside of her.
Right. She's fine.
And potentially, so does Eric Matthews' kid.
Eric Matthews' kid throws up blood at the end. He is injected with something off screen. We do find that out because Eric at the end of the movie finds the vial that he was injected with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. The next game that we see is Xavier's game. The most brutal game I have ever seen in the Saw movies that makes my toes curl. It's so hard to watch.
This is the needle pit?
Yes. So Xavier is a drug dealer who sells heroin.
Yes.
So his test is to jump into a pit of hypodermic needles, dig through them, and find the one needle that's attached to a key. It looks different than the rest of the needles. It's like got a
glowing green.
Yeah, it's glowing green rather than yellow like the rest of them. He does not play this game because he is a real piece of shit. He grabs Amanda by her arms and throws her inside of the pit of needles, and she like shoots up, and she's just got needles sticking out of her like her arms, and oh my god, it is so incredibly difficult to watch. And then she starts full on like digging through these needles with her open hands to try and find the one. She finds the one with the key, gives it to Xavier, and he's too slow to open the door.
He drops it, that's why.
Yeah, he goes to try to open it, and he drops it while he's trying to open it.
Which is what I was saying. I would hope that in a Saw movie, I learned how to use a key.
Yeah. But this is clearly my favorite Saw trap of this movie. It is so disturbingly brutal that I remember the feeling I had the first time I watched it, where I like literally tightened into a fetal position. It was like
your asshole tightened up.
Oh yeah, big time.
Eating Chick-fil-A.
I could not handle that. That was a rough one.
That was... Well, I think my favorite... I forgot to say it. My favorite's Venus Flytrap at the start.
That's your favorite for this one?
Yeah.
Little mini Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Okay. We go back to Eric's game. He's still talking to Jigsaw. It's revealed that Eric is a dirty cop who plants evidence to get convictions. And everyone in the game is someone that Eric has falsely convicted. They were all criminals, but they were charged on something that was not what they did. So, like, one of the girls in there is a prostitute. He got her thrown in for, like, drug charges, something like that, because he planted evidence.
Right, and we find out Amanda... I don't remember what she did, but she went to jail because of drug charges, which eventually got her on drugs, leading to Jigsaw catching her.
Yeah.
So that's complicated.
But anyways, Eric's son is in the game, so obviously, if that information were to leak, they would all want to kill Eric's son. They already want to kill Eric, I'm sure. But then they'd want to kill his son.
Yeah, even Xavier, though, at the end, when he finds out, doesn't really care. He's like, I'm at this point...
No, he does. He intentionally seeks out Eric's kid to kill him.
Oh, yeah, he does.
But he's trying to kill everybody.
But he was doing that before, because before he even finds him, he's running through the halls going, whatever his name is, Danny, Amanda. Yeah, he is. And then he finds it.
Yeah. Xavier discovers the answer to Kramer's puzzle and finds that the code to the safe with the antidote is written on the back of everyone's neck. So each person in the game has a number. Mm-hmm. And then you go, you input the number, you get the thing, the antidote. How you know the order of the numbers, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just have to kind of guess.
Yeah, you have to.
I mean, there's 8 people. What does that give you?
Lots of options. Like a lot.
So, throughout the movie, there's been one guy. He's a black gentleman. He's kind of been the group's leader. But he and Xavier butt heads. And this is where that all comes to an end. Xavier and the black guy get into a scuffle. They start fighting. Xavier's trying to kill him to get the number off the back of his neck. The guy puts up a few good hits.
Yeah, he does.
But there's a baseball bat with nails driven through it in the room that Xavier grabs, smashes into the back of the guy's head, sticks him, he dies, he goes down. Xavier gets the number. Xavier then goes and checks the other 2 dead people, the one that got shot from the gun on the other side of the door, and Obi, who burned in the furnace, to get their numbers.
Meanwhile, skinny girl, skinny blonde chick, dies of being sick.
Yep, she dies of the poison. And at that point, they also find out that Eric Matthews' kid is the one in there. Because there's a picture hidden behind another picture that they pull out.
X marks the spot.
Yep, and the picture was cracked with an X,
right.
So that's how they knew. That was the last thing that skinny blonde girl did before she died. Is she's like, that's the X. And then she dies. And then they open it. They see that he's her kid.
Yeah.
The 2 remaining girls are willing to just move on. Amanda's like, okay, screw you, kid. And then the prostitute's also like, oh, screw this, I'm going off on my own. Xavier finds it, and he's like, I'm going to kill you, kid. But he's going to kill everyone anyways, because he wants the numbers on the back of their necks.
Yeah. Which, at the end, yeah, because he even find out at the end when Amanda's like, when he gets in there and Amanda's like, he's dead. And he's like, I don't care. I'm not here to kill him. I'm here for what's on his back of his neck. Yeah. So that wasn't really a needed twist, I think.
Yeah.
It does give Eric motivation to get there because he's like, oh shoot.
Right.
But yeah.
Now the prostitute, she went off by herself. She found an open door that had another trap in it.
Easiest trap of the movie.
Well, yeah. This one's probably the easiest. So what she has to do is there's a glass case that contains one of the syringes. She has to slide her hands upwards through glass shards that are all done in like a circular shape. So that when she pulls back down, it's like a finger trap, basically. When you put tension on it, it tightens and you can't get out. But as you know, with finger traps, if you peel back one of the corners, you can slide your fingers out. It would be the same idea with this. She reaches one hand up, grabs the syringe, uses her other hand to open the glass and not go all the way up, slide her hand out, and the glass closes. She doesn't do that. She gets caught in there.
Which, she gets caught in there in the dumbest way, because she opens the syringe, she doesn't grab it from the bottom. She grabs it from the top, meaning she just pulls the top right off, spilling it all out everywhere.
Yep.
And then she's like, well, I guess, and puts her other hand in.
Yeah, to try and grab what? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Put some on her fingertips and, like, suck it off? I don't get what her plan was. But she's trapped there. Xavier stumbles upon it, and she's like, oh, you're here to help me.
That's
and he's
brutal.
like, no, I'm here to just look at the back of your neck.
Yeah.
Gets the number, leaves her for dead. She
dies off screen.
Yeah. Now, Eric is really concerned because the only people left are Xavier, Amanda, and his son. Amanda has taken his son and is like, we'll work together, I'll protect you, whatever. But Xavier is on their trail. Eric is watching this all on a monitor, and he freaks out, and he's like, nope, no more of this. And he goes and just beats the living hell out of John Kramer, who's dying of cancer. He throws him around, and then he's like, you're going to take me to this house. And Kramer's like, oh, you didn't stay here and talk to me. Game over, but I'll take you. So they go to the house. While they're going to the house, the FBI team that's there or whatever cracks it, and they're like, oh, we're getting a signal of where this video is being transmitted from. And they go to a house. They wind up at two separate houses, but
they'll look identical.
Amanda and Eric's son find a secret way out of the house through a trap door underneath the safe. They see this because the blood that drained out of the black guy's head is seeping through the floor in an unnatural, like, L shape.
Yeah.
So it's going through the crack of something, and they open up a trap door. What's under the house, through that trap door, is a tunnel. Where does that tunnel lead?
To the best Zepp of the movie.
To the best Zepp of the movie. Biggest plot twist. They are in the bathroom from Saw 1. And it's
pretty cool.
Complete with a dead Adam body, who it's kind of rotting at this point, because I think that this technically takes place 6 months after the first Saw movie.
A dead Lawrence foot.
A decapitated not necessarily decapitated, but
an amputated
Lawrence foot.
Missing is a dead Zepp, who does not appear. No,
well, it doesn't show him in this one, but you do see Zepp's body in a later one. In that room, because there's an ass ton of people that are dead in that room by the end of the franchise.
Yeah.
So, the way this all goes down is they both make it there, but Xavier is also onto them. He shows up in the bathroom, and he's got them cornered, and he's like, I'm going to kill you both to get your number. And she's like, oh, well, you can't kill me, because then who's going to read the number off of the back of your neck?
Oh, yeah.
And he goes psycho as shit and cuts the back of his neck off so he can look at his own number. Yeah. And right as he kind of lunges in for Amanda,
Danny's pretending to be dead.
Yeah, he grabs the saw that...
It was Adam's saw.
Okay, he grabs one of the saws.
Adam's saw broke.
Ground. Yeah, I thought it broke.
When he tried to cut his chain, it broke.
He threw it at the wall. No, yeah, it did. It broke when he was cutting through his chain, and then he threw it at the wall. But it doesn't matter. He grabs one of the saws, and he goes up and he slits Xavier's throat. Xavier goes down. Now there's another body in the bathroom.
But it was right next to Adam's body.
Yeah.
So it might as well have been Adam's saw.
So now there's three bodies and a foot.
This is the thing that...
Three bodies and a foot in that basement now.
When we finally catch up to him in the next movie, Adam, my question is, why did Adam not cut off his own foot?
He didn't want to.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is Adam had a couple ways out of this room.
He's an idiot.
He did not.
He thought that Gordon was going to come back.
But what?
Cut off my foot.
Once enough time passed, I would have been like.
Yeah, but then after that, he's hungry and he's famished and he can't cut off his foot because then he'll just die. So if he was going to do it, he had to do it right then.
I guess.
Or it was too late.
You're right.
But I mean, he cuts off his foot and then what does he do? Because the door is shut and locked, presumably.
So, I don't think it was locked. It wasn't locked because.
Well, but how are you going to open it when you don't have a foot? You got to sit there and like.
To be fair, he also could have been eating Zepp's body this whole time if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To try and stay alive. So.
Adam, you idiot.
Adam's a bit of a failure when it comes to the game. That's for sure.
Why didn't he just cut his foot off and eat Zepp's body?
Why didn't he just cut his foot off and eat his foot?
So now that we're done with the people from the house. Yeah. The plot twists begin. Mm-hmm. The surveillance people show up at a house, It's just a normal house. It looks the same as the one that the other guys were in, but it's a different house. Under it is a bunch of monitors that have been streaming pre-recorded footage to the warehouse. Mm-hmm. So we now learn that everything that they were watching actually happened 2 days ago. 2 weeks ago, maybe.
It's a few hours ago.
No, it's not.
It's not weeks because the kid hasn't been missing that long.
Yeah, it's at least 2 days. 2 days have gone by.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the his dad doesn't have like custody over him. So if the kid's gone, he doesn't really know because he doesn't live with him.
Yeah.
So he just thinks he's at his mom's house.
2 days have gone by. I think I heard that from Dead Meat.
Okay.
Eric and Jigsaw both arrive at a house. Eric goes in. It is in fact the same house, and you know that because all of the bodies are there. Eric goes down the secret tunnel. Does he go down the tunnel?
Yeah.
Or he just gets jumped by a pig, I thought.
No, he goes down.
He goes down the tunnel.
He goes down. He goes into the bathroom.
Doesn't he see the trail of blood?
Yeah, he goes down into the
right.
bathroom, looks in the bathtub, and he's like, I see a hand.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then a
hand.
pig mask jumps up
Yeah,
and
the hand
sticks
winds
him.
up being the pig mask. Great editing, because you don't know what's going... It's edited to where he's like... Eric busts into the house and he's like, Daniel! And then you cut back to big guy. What's his name? Big guy?
Xavier.
Xavier. You cut back to Xavier and he like looks behind him. So you're like, oh shoot, it's going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good editing. Great.
So then...
Yeah.
Eric Matthews is now chained in that same basement. The door is shut. He plays a tape. It's Amanda's voice on the tape. Big plot twist. Amanda was on John Kramer's side the whole time and working in the game to make sure that the rules were followed.
Yeah. Now she is the second Jigsaw.
She is the second Jigsaw. And she and John escape. And Eric is trapped in the basement. Game over. Except not really.
Not really.
For Eric, at least.
For Eric.
Eric's son, who knows? Eric's son, that's the other big plot twist. Eric's son was in the room that John Kramer and Eric Matthews were both in.
Yep.
And if Eric Matthews had talked to him for 2 hours, a safe would have opened and his son would have been in there utilizing a breathing mask so he didn't die.
Jigsaw likes puns. So
Yeah.
he starts out by being like, you will find your son in a safe and secure place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
he was there in the room the whole time.
And he's like, I assure you, your son is like safe and alive and everything. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's Saw 2. What worked, what didn't?
Again, like almost everything worked.
Yeah, I thought all of it
The
worked.
acting was much better.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I don't think I had any complaints about this movie, actually.
Not really.
As far as the Saw movie goes, this was, like, perfect.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with it. I think that the plot twists at the end of this one were maybe the most clever and best of the whole series. That Amanda was working with John the whole time.
And they'll repeat these plot twists way too
And
many times.
That Eric Matthews' kid was in the room with them the whole time. I thought those were both brilliant plot twists.
Yeah.
And it was exciting when Eric was locked in the basement at the end. I was like, oh, time for Saw 3!
Yeah, I
Let's see where this goes.
I like when the lights come on when they make it to the basement and it repeats the shot from the first movie of all the lights coming on. That was cool.
I thought this movie also had some very inspirational quotes because we kind of get a little look of what John Kramer's doing this for, the reason that he's doing it. And John Kramer is doing this to teach people, to open their eyes.
Enjoy life, because
Enjoy life.
I found out I was gonna die and I tried to kill myself and it didn't work and I enjoy life.
I don't think
we do see the car crash in this one.
Well, here's what he says. He says, can you imagine what it feels like to have someone sit you down and tell you that you're dying? The gravity of that? Then the clock is ticking for you. In a split second, your awe is cracked open. You look at things differently, smell things differently. You savor everything, be it a glass of water or a walk in the park. But most people have the luxury of not knowing when that clock goes off. And the irony of that is it keeps them from really living their life. It keeps them from drinking that water, but never really tasting it. I like that quote a lot. So much, in fact, that in, sophomore year of high school, I posted it on my Instagram. Kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Once you know it's from Saw.
A serial killer from Saw.
Yeah.
That should be my senior quote.
And then Amanda also gives a quote that will essentially ring in the rest of this entire series, and especially in movie 7. She says, "What is the cure for cancer, Eric? The cure for death itself. The answer is immortality. By creating a legacy, by living a life worth remembering, you become immortal." And so the rest of the movies essentially are about Amanda, John, and others trying to create a legacy that will have them remembered for.
Yep.
Well, John's is also like to teach people lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's Saw 2. How many links on the
Piddled.
foot chain do you give it?
I piddled. All over the foot chain.
Yeah. I pissed the foot chain.
Yes.
I pissed it out.
I was
Like
drowning
each
in a
link
room
at a
of
time.
my own urine.
It fucking
I loved
hurt.
this
Let
one.
me tell you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright. Saw 3.
Yuck.
Derek's least...
There's-
Saw 3. Derek's least favorite Saw.
There's my one-word review for the movie. Yuck.
Derek is a fool, though, because this is not the worst Saw movie.
Well, I don't remember too much about Saw 7.
Yeah, it's
That's pretty
the
bad.
worst.
I hate this movie.
Saw 3 opens
Great. It's
with a
good opening.
continuation of Eric's game.
Yeah.
He's still locked in the bathroom, but he's all by himself. So what does he do? Well, he grabs the saw,
Yeah.
goes to cut his own leg off, and was like, no.
Because he looks at the
no."
foot. He sees the foot, and
Yeah.
then he's like, well, this is how you get out.
Mm-hmm.
He
But
puts
what
two
does,
and two together.
what does he actually do?
He grabs the toilet lid that Adam smashed Boy's head in
Zep's head.
with,
Oh, yeah.
and then he smashes his foot open.
Yep.
He
Oh,
breaks his
God.
ankle.
He
So the scene
grounds
is-
his foot down to like a liquid that he can just scoop through the cuff.
That is so rough to watch, because he breaks his ankle, and you think that's bad enough. You see the bone sticking out, and then he grabs his foot and just, like, hard 90s it down, and it just snaps, like, to where it's barely hanging on.
No, he just kind of bashes his foot with the lid of that thing a lot.
Did you not watch the unrated versions?
I think I did.
In the unrated version, the one that I
No, yeah,
watched,
I watched
he
it
grabs
because-
his foot and goes and snaps it out.
I don't know. I was also taking notes through these whole movies, so there's some smaller things like that I probably missed.
That's the part that gets me. And then what happens to his foot is pretty rough.
So now we meet Troy. Troy is a criminal that has been in and out of prison. He's being tested to see if he can break the chains and escape the cycle. Troy
Yeah.
is locked in a classroom with an explosive. He is strapped down by rings that have been woven through his skin. Places like his arm, leg, back, and jaw. And so on. He begins to rip himself free, but takes too long. So he's ripping the chains out of his skin.
He gets all out but the one in his jaw.
Yeah, he's got one left to pull, but it's too late. The bomb goes off and kills him.
Do you think he would have been able to get that out of his jaw?
No, I don't think
It goes
he
like
would've
right
been
through his fucking skull. Like
Yeah.
he would have to. Yeah, I think he would have died if he ripped
I
it
think
out.
he would have died too.
Well, you
In
see,
fact, a neo-Nazi dies of the same thing later on in the series.
Yeah.
you see,
he also gets his arms ripped off.
Yeah.
Hoffman. Hoffman comes in, picks up the chain that was in his mouth. You do see it's not a complete circle. It has a cut in it.
Oh, does it?
So, but he would have had to crack out like all of his front teeth to get it out.
In that case,
Okay.
maybe he would have lived.
Yeah.
He'd have to rip that out in a very specific way.
But it wouldn't have mattered anyways. And I don't know if we learn this in this movie.
We do learn it like right away.
But-
Karen comes in and
that's
figures
right.
it out.
This was an unwinnable game no matter what. Because even if he had gotten the chains off, the door to escape was welded shut. So he was in there to die no matter what. Which is a break in the Jigsaw character we know, who tries to leave a escape option for everybody, even though
Adam doesn't use his.
sometimes he does not. So now we go to Carrie's game. Carrie was the detective that figured that out, that it was an unwinnable game. She's been on the force. She was actually in all 3 of the first Saw movies.
Yep.
And she makes a cameo appearance in the 4th.
Yes, she does.
Carrie is abducted from her home and chained up. She is told that she's in the game because she prefers to spend more time with the dead people at her job than she does with the living. Carrie has to retrieve a key from a glass of acid before a contraption rips her ribs from her body. She reaches into the acid to collect the key. She succeeds. She unlocks the chain, but the game does not stop. It's another unwinnable game, and just before it goes off, it's revealed that Amanda was the one that set up the game, or she was like in the room watching this happen. And the contraption goes off and rips her ribs out of her body.
Yep. There's an old medieval like torture thing. I forgot what they call it now, but same idea.
Yep. This was based off of a real thing.
I did
a real
not know
contraption.
that. I knew that this one was called the Angel Trap.
It's something to do with an angel.
Yeah, I know that this trap in the movie is called the Angel Trap.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's that.
But yeah, this was an actual torture device.
Yep.
That's not device. They used to just cut a slit in your back and pull your ribs out to make it look like you had wings.
Like a predator.
Yeah.
We now meet Lynn. Lynn is a surgeon at the same hospital that Dr. Gordon was.
I found out what it was called. It's called Blood Eagle.
Blood Eagle. So Lynn is a surgeon at the same hospital that Dr. Gordon was. John is dying, but has a few loose ends to tie up. So Lynn's game is to keep John alive till all active games are over. Actually, just one active.
Yeah, there's
game.
just the one that he has to
just
worry
the one,
about.
just the one in this movie. She has to.
Right.
She has to live through, or keep him alive.
It's a little complicated next.
So if she does not, there is a shotgun collar around her neck that is linked to John's heartbeat. If John's heart flatlines, the 5 or 6 shotgun shells on the collar will go off and blow her head to pieces.
Yes.
We then meet Jeff. Jeff is also being tested.
Worst Saw protagonist of all the Saw protagonists.
No.
Yeah, he has.
You do not remember part 7.
Jeff has the easiest tests out of any Saw protagonist.
Yes, but there is
he fails
mental
all of
reason.
them.
There is a mental reason that he has trouble doing some of these, and you can.
That's what makes it.
He's a piece of shit. He's slow, but you can somewhat empathize with him.
No, but there's even he'll decide partway through. He'll be like, "Oh shoot, wait, whoa, maybe I should be saving this life."
Well, yeah,
and then he goes about it in the dumbest way possible.
But he is still better than the guy from Saw 7. Jeff is a man who lost his son in a fatal car accident where a drunk man killed his son. Jeff has been fixated on revenge and has neglected his daughter and wife because of the loss of his. Jeff has 2 hours to clear a series of tests where he must forgive the people involved in the loss of his son and the freeing of the man who killed his son. Jeff's first test is to save the only woman present as a witness to his son's death. She chose not to testify, and so now Jeff must either save her or leave her to freeze to death naked in a sub-zero room while being sprayed with water. Initially, he leaves her to die, and he's like, you ruined my life, and she's like, you're not doing anything to save me, and he's like, that's the thing, you didn't do anything to help me convict this guy of killing my kid, so we're just as bad as each other.
She's like, oh, I'm a human being like your son was. And right there, he goes, oh, you're right. I should not let a human being die like my son died. So you'd think from this point on...
it's not right there. He sits there and listens to her get sprayed and scream, and he kind of
But still, in this scene, he learns his lesson. You'd think from this point on, he'd be like, yep, I can't let a human being die.
I had a problem with that,
He learns the same lesson 3 times in a row. He's an idiot. And when he finally decides, I have to help this girl, he walks up to her and she's so frozen that he touches her face and it cracks open.
Yeah.
She's so dead by the point he finally decides to do something. He should have been like, well, better luck next time. I'll make sure to save the next one. But instead he decides to burn half of his face off by getting it stuck on a frozen pipe and getting it ripped off. So I guess it doesn't burn. It's the exact opposite of that. But still, he freezes half of his face off.
Now, Jeff's next game is to save the judge who was in charge of convicting the man that killed his kid. What happened was the judge convicted him as guilty, but only sentenced him to 5 months.
6.
6 months in prison.
It's important description.
Yeah, yes. Convicted him of 6 months rather than like a life sentence or whatever. And he was clearly not happy about that. Now, this trap is kind of gross.
It's disgusting.
The judge is chained to the ground and will drown in ground-up pig guts if Jeff doesn't incinerate his son's belongings and get the key that unlocks the judge's chain.
But they're not any pig guts.
They are rotting pig guts.
They're rotting pig guts. The pigs have maggots all over them.
And the way this happens is pigs are brought into the room, dropped into the big grinder, and literally ground down so much that it is just liquid. It's not like chunky liquid. It's just this brown, disgusting liquid that's like... You can see the thickness of it, too. It looks...
Spews all over Judge.
So disgusting.
Which is...
like all over his face and stuff.
I feel like every single person in these traps was gonna die anyways, even if Jeff saved them all, because he saves this guy's gonna die of some illness. If he saved the girl, she's gonna die of like hypothermia or whatever she had.
They cuddle for warmth afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
He warms her up. He gets naked too, though.
She climbs his little pouch and they go off.
His little pouch. I want that alternate version of this movie where Jeff he saves her and then he's naked the rest of the movie. Yeah, he saves the judge, though. The trap is he has to incinerate all of his child's belongings in order to save the judge's life.
And also, dick move, he has to burn the pictures of him with his son. I was like, that's a little much.
Yeah, that's true.
His stuffed animals, okay, that's a little petty to try and hold on to those.
And because even he was like, hey, daughter, don't touch those stuffed animals. Don't go in Danny's room. So, I can understand why Jigsaw would be like, yeah, I need to get rid of those. But he does it after long enough, gets the key, saves Judge, on to the next part of the movie.
Next part of the movie is back to Lynn's game of keeping John Kramer alive. Now, John Kramer needs a surgery to relieve pressure that's being placed on his brain from the tumor that's there.
Whew, yeah. This
is a brutal scene to watch.
This is the most intense and disgusting scene of the entire franchise for me.
This is a pretty intense one. So what she has to do is she has to drill 4 holes in his skull without hitting his brain, then use a bone saw to cut the skull, the fragment of skull. Oh, actually, she has to scalp this area first.
Yeah.
And cut his skin and peel it back.
And make sure that it doesn't bleed out too much.
Yep.
When she sprays alcohol into his skull, and he twitches because of it, that's the part that every time I'm like, oh Jesus.
I think it's the noise of the saw going through his bone. It sounds like a dentist office.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a very realistic sound.
If you've ever had braces on, there's this noise that happens when they're sanding down your teeth to get the glue off. But you can hear it inside of your skull, and that's what he's hearing, is his skull is being cut out of him. And my God, it was hard to do with braces. I cannot imagine what it would be like getting a chunk of your skull taken out. Well, you're awake, mind you, because he had to have a general anesthetic that didn't knock him out, so that he could focus on what's happening. That's probably the coolest part of the movie. Not the best trap.
I don't think there's any good traps in this movie, if I'm honest.
Yeah, the traps in this one are all pretty weak.
The next one's alright.
Back to Jeff's game. Jeff finally comes face to face with Timothy Lee, the man that killed his son. He's attached to a crucifix that has gears that will rotate his arms, legs, and finally his neck until he is dead.
I think this one's my favorite because it's pretty brutal.
Of the movie, this is definitely the best trap of the movie, for sure, 100%. The key is in a box. In order to get that key, Jeff will have to fire a shotgun at himself. Seems a little counterproductive because if Jeff fires a shotgun at himself, Jeff is dead and
the key is destroyed.
So the way this works is the key is dangling inside this box. When Jeff goes and grabs the key, it pulls a trigger on a shotgun that's fixed at him and will kill him. But Jeff has no intention of getting this key because this is the man that killed his son. So the thing starts rotating with his arms, I believe.
It makes
arms,
it
legs.
3 limbs deep before Jeff starts to do something.
Yeah, and it's snapping his limbs and bones are ripping out of skin. And the judge that he saved from the last trap is with him and is like, I'll get the key out, but he kind of tugs on it and he's like, I don't want to die. Jeff, you get your ass over there and you pull that key out. And Jeff's like, screw you.
Yeah, the judge is busy, like, trying to prevent the machine from working.
Yeah.
And Jeff goes over and cheats the system.
Scooby-Doo inspects this thing, and he, like, looks around the whole box, and he's like, But I guess it works for him because he realizes that he can just unscrew the key and take it out of the thing. But when he does that, the rope flicks back because it's lost its tension or something. I don't really know. The trigger goes off, fires, misses Jeff, but kills the judge. He gets blasted in the face and dies. So then Jeff takes the key and kind of like taps it against the trap and then just drops it. And goes to the front of Timothy Lee as his head's being rotated, tries to hold the thing so it doesn't like snap his neck, and he's like, I'm sorry, I forgive you. It doesn't matter, because Timothy Lee's head is like all the way Exorcist at this point.
Yeah.
Facing the back of this contraption, completely snapped.
Which is, at the point when Jeff finally starts to act, like I said, they're 3 limbs deep. The fourth limb is starting. If I was Timothy Lee, I'd be like, find a way to kill me quick. Yeah. Kill me. I don't want to get out of this. I just want to die.
Jesus, I feel like after the first limb being snapped like that, I'd be like, if you're not getting me out like right this second, just fucking end me.
Yeah, well, if it was like one leg and one arm
at me or something, I don't care. This is terrible.
Yeah, God.
But yep. So Jeff has now failed at all of his games. He saved the judge, but the judge died. It was all useless.
Final test.
Now, the games come to a crossroad. Because Jeff's game links up with Lynn's game, and there's a third game being played this whole movie. And that game is Amanda's game. John is going to die. He knows this. He's accepted this. But he needs someone to take over his place as the master of the games. And he wants that person to be Amanda. But Amanda has been making unwinnable traps. And so she now needs to prove herself to John by not killing Lynn. So her game was to not kill Lynn. Lynn's game was to keep John alive. And Jeff's game was to be a little quicker than he was.
Yeah, and John at one point, clearly, because he's like, well, I'm dead anyways, he pours all this goop, all this wax.
Candle wax.
Onto a tape and then eats it.
Yep. It doesn't show him eat it, but he eats it.
Yeah, you watch him pour the wax on in this movie.
So Amanda's game gets a little more spicy because John's like, I know you're creating unwinnable traps, and I also know that you're killing the people in my traps that have survived. And we find out that Adam was still alive in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Kind of, like he hears the door open and he's like, oh, Gordon's back. He's here to save me.
I like that they had the original actor back.
Yeah, he was.
Well, because
the original.
Wasn't he like an executive producer on a whole bunch of these movies? So he was like already involved with them.
Yeah, I think so. He was also like a director before Saw, and then he went to act in Saw.
Right. So he was.
But he was not the director of Saw.
He was connected to the franchise. So.
And actually, like every single person in the movies that have a main role wind up coming back for more than one movie, except for Tap. He's the only one that is only in the first one. There's flashbacks of him throughout the series, and there's a picture of him, but the actor does not ever physically come back to shoot new scenes for another movie.
Yeah. Danny Glover, the king.
So she goes in to see Adam. Adam's like in the room, and she's like, I'm going to put you out of your misery. Puts a bag over his head, suffocates him to death. Adam's game is ended somewhat unfairly. Adam still, well, he wasn't utilizing his chance, had a chance to get out of that room. But she ended it. And then Eric Matthews bashes his foot in at the beginning of the movie, gets out of the room.
Oof, never mind. This might be the hardest scene to watch.
He's going through the hallway, and he catches up with Amanda, who was the one that shackled him into the room. Now, Eric Matthews made quick work of his trap time. He was in there for like a total of 2 minutes.
Because he's a smart,
shackled,
cool character.
Yeah, he's shackled, wakes up, listens to the tape, bashes his foot in, escapes through the tunnel, but he runs into Amanda. Now, he's pissed and wants to see his son, so he beats the hell out of Amanda. Amanda, to escape, kicks his broken foot backwards on itself, and it is so painful. It's such a painful image of that foot, like, cracking over.
Well, because trips on it earlier, and he falls into like a bar, which he uses as a weapon.
Yeah.
So he like you already see it's pretty much dangling, and then she kicks it to the point where it is dangling. It's like not even connected anymore. That's rough.
So he goes down in pain. Amanda escapes. I don't really know why this was shown as the montage of her making unwinnable traps. She left him to die, basically. He doesn't die. He comes.
I think the idea was she locked him in there.
Yeah,
and then John is like, well, I know you locked him in there. I know that you made it so that he couldn't get out, and which is why I sent probably Strom in there.
So now here we are at the crossroads. Jeff winds up with a gun. That was his final gift from Kramer. He gave him a gun with more than one bullet, which was a mistake.
It's got like 6 bullets in it.
Or maybe it does.
It doesn't.
He only fires one. No, he only fires one bullet.
I thought he shot Amanda in the neck like 3 times.
No, just once. But the games go like this. Lynn was Jeff's wife. Mm-hmm. Lynn was also coping with the death of their son by being a person that sleeps with other men and neglecting their daughter as well. So they were both pretty shitty parents, that poor daughter. So Jeff has the gun. John swallows the tape covered in wax, but that's off screen. Amanda fails her game and shoots Lynn, but Lynn doesn't die. Jeff shoots Amanda in the neck and kills her out of revenge for her killing his wife. Jeff is now tasked with the final game of the movie to forgive John Kramer and not kill him. Jeff does not comply, turns on a power saw, cuts through John Kramer's neck, which in turn kills Lynn.
Yeah, but John knows that this is going to happen. The second he gets his neck cut open, he pulls out this tape recorder and presses play.
Yeah, and what the tape recorder says is, you shouldn't have killed me because I'm the only one that knows where your daughter is.
Right.
I kidnapped your daughter. And he also says that everyone in that room is now dead. And I don't really know that... I don't know how he could have predicted that Jeff will die. But it happens in the next one.
Yeah.
We'll see Jeff's end.
At the very end.
But Lynn's shotgun collar arms, and it cuts to black before we see the aftermath. So you hear it shoot, but you don't see it. The final shot of the movie is Jeff and Lynn's daughter in a room. Like, R.I.P. She's not coming out of that. Saw 3 introduces John Kramer's inhuman ability to predict human behavior.
Yeah.
It also looks way worse than the first 2 Saw movies. It breaks the format of the puzzles and is more trap-based. So what works, what didn't?
I don't think any of it works. I hate this movie. Actually, no. The soundtrack works.
The soundtracks are all the same.
Yeah.
Up until Saw 8. Saw 8's the only one with a unique soundtrack.
John Kramer's... No, never mind. I don't like this movie. None of it works. I can't even say anything good about it because the traps are lame.
So how much did you piddle, though?
I didn't. I want to watch Slender Man before I watch Saw 3.
No way. No way. Boo.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, I would watch Saw 3.
No, I don't know. It wasn't... I don't think it was, like, terrible. It just kind of fits with the series, and it's just kind of there. No piddle.
No piddle? Yeah.
No piddle.
Here's the thing. The story of Jeff, I think, is one of the more memorable ones. It's the guy trying to forgive the people involved in the death of his son. Sure. I can remember him.
Yeah, I like the story.
I can remember him and his story post this movie. But it's incredibly slow paced, and it looks bad. It looks worse than the rest. And there is a lot of unnecessary bits. Like, plot description, I skipped so much of the things that happen in that. There's so many flashbacks to things that we don't need.
Yeah, they're unnecessary. Look how this was set up. Look how Jigsaw set up Amanda's bear trap. We don't care.
I don't think that was in
That was in it. Mm-hmm. Because we see... Yeah, that's in it.
I know it's in one of them, but yeah. Yeah, it's not one of the best. It's probably my
worst.
second least favorite. Not the worst by any means. It's miles above Saw 7.
Saw 4.
I didn't piddle either.
How many toes out of one Gordon foot do you give it?
1, 2. I'd give it 2.
Yeah, like a little
2 out of 5.
little pinky toe, maybe a pinky toe and a middle toe.
I also, so what I meant about his ability, he has an inhuman ability to predict human nature. John Kramer in the end of that movie would have died going, "I condemned your daughter to death." That doesn't feel like John Kramer to me. Because she's like in a room and he's like, "I'm the only one that knows where she is." She does get saved later.
Yeah, he's
She
obviously
doesn't die,
bluffing because
but-
of who saves her.
Yeah.
And
So-
Amanda knows where she is too in the
But Amanda's
post-credit
dead.
scene. But the point is,
Yeah.
the Jigsaw accomplices know.
Okay. Saw 4. Now, let's do this one. Only stop me when we're at your favorite trap.
But this is my favorite Saw movie out of sight of 2.
Okay, Saw 4. The movie opens on John Kramer's autopsy. He has all of his Saw 3 battle wounds, and the doctors retrieve the tape that he swallowed from the last film. Detective Hoffman arrives on the scene after his brief role in Saw 3. The tape is a message to Detective Hoffman telling him he will be tested and that John Kramer's work is not done. We then cut to an active test where 2 guys are chained at the neck. One with his eyes sewed shut and the other with his mouth sewed shut. They are hooked to a contraption that is shortening their chains and going to kill them. I don't really know how. Just like,
I think it's just going to pull their faces in and grind them.
yeah.
This one's unfair, though, because he doesn't even give them a tape. So, the guy with the eyes sewed shut has literally no way of knowing what's happening, whereas usually he's like, "Listen, this is what's happening."
Yeah.
Well, but then that would kind of ruin it, because then he explains it and he's like, "Oh, I'm in a trap," even though my eyes are sewn shut. So now he's like, "Okay, I know it's
Right, which is, I think it's unfair for that guy.
well." I mean, but yeah, he's just got to find a way to. I don't know. This was my favorite trap.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you think it'd be easy to win, though? I thought it would
But
be
you said it
too-
was unfair.
It's unfair for that guy. The other guy...
If you had your eyes sewn shut, the scales are not tilted in your favor. The only reason that guy had a chance was because he was much stronger than the other guy.
Didn't he have a axe or something?
Yeah, the Hobbit, once he gets...
Wasn't really the Hobbit. I looked it up.
I told you, he looks like Sylvester Stallone.
He does not look anything like Sylvester Stallone.
Okay, so not Sylvester Stallone takes the... Here's what I would have done, right? If I was him, take the axe, cut your mouth open. He rips it open at the end and screams anyways.
Yeah.
Might as well try it.
I don't think they make axes sharp like that, like a knife. Usually.
I don't know.
If you use the corner, maybe.
That's kind of what I thought. Just...
I don't know, but the thing is, he's gotta... I don't know, if he could find a way to get the key... I'm sure the key worked for both locks.
Probably.
So if he could find a way to, calm him down, then he would have been able to, grab it, unlock his thing, and then he's like, "Oh, whoa, I'm free," and then unlock that one. And then he's just blind, and you gotta find a way to...
I'm sure they could, cut the stitches on his eyes surgically or something.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But at
Um,
least for then.
so, like you mentioned, there is a key to this. It's on the back of the strong guy's neck. And so the guy with working eyes sees that.
How funny would it be, though, if the guy with working eyes sees it on the other guy's neck, and he's like, "That's the one." And then at the very end, he feels his own neck, and it's the same key.
Oh, man.
I kind of thought that
That'd be a good
they
one.
must both have one, but I guess
I
not.
thought that, too.
So the smaller guy manages to gain the upper hand and kill the other guy, taking the key out, unlocking his thing, saving himself, ripping his stitches open, and giving a little victory yell. And then the title card
Yeah,
hits.
I'm sure that's
Victory
what
speech! Now, the detectives are investigating the saw trap from the last movie. The saw trap is Carrie's unwinnable rib trap. They bust in, and 2 special agents arrive, and their names are Strom and Perez. They are now important characters to remember. They decide that there is a third Jigsaw who's helping Amanda set up the traps. We also find that John's wife is being investigated as a possible accomplice. Now, one of the detectives on the scene was one of Carrie's friends. He was also in Saw 2 and briefly in Saw 3. His name is Detective Riggs, and the whole movie is a game that he has to go through. Because Riggs is overly fixated on trying to save everybody. So Jigsaw's test for him is to not save anybody for his entirety of his game. It's not his job to do. He's not supposed to save people. So Riggs learns that Eric Matthews and Hoffman are both in danger of dying. Riggs must put his obsession aside in order to save them. The first step in the game is to walk away from a criminal who's trapped in a device that has her ponytail trapped in gears that will rip her scalp off as it turns. He does not follow through with this and manages to save her. She immediately springs from the trap after her scalp gets ripped off a little bit. She springs from the trap, finds a knife hidden under a TV, and goes to kill Riggs. Riggs uses the fact that her scalp is partly ripped off, grabs her hair, and further rips her scalp off till she goes down and is subdued. And the game continues. Riggs runs off and winds up at a seedy motel. For this test, Riggs must feel what Jigsaw feels by donning the mask and testing the motel owner's will to live. We learn that the motel owner has been beating and forcibly raping the women that stay there. Riggs forces him into position. The motel owner has to decide between losing his eyes or his body. He has 2 buttons that will plunge these, spike things into his eyes and save his life. Should he fail, the device he is strapped to will rip off all of his limbs and throw him around the room. He loses.
Yeah, I would too.
Well, he immediately presses one of the buttons.
I couldn't.
It stabs into one of his eyes.
If I would,
And he
you either press
stalls
both at
just too
once
long.
or you
Yeah.
don't press either.
He should have pressed both at once. I think, personally, he should have died. Because he is,
Well, I agree that he should have
my
died.
most
But
hated guy. This is also probably the... No, I'm not gonna give this coolest Saw trap yet. I was going to, but I'm not going to. We then get background to why John turned to his life of fixing people. Even though we thought it was because he had cancer and drove into a wall. He now has a new backstory.
yeah, this will
to
get super
piggyback onto that.
convoluted.
John's wife, Jill, was pregnant with their child. A patient at the health clinic that Jill worked at broke in to steal drugs. As he rushed out, he slammed the door on Jill's stomach and aborted the baby. So John snapped, turned the workshop he had to make his child's cribs and toys and whatnot. He turned it into a workshop to test people's will to live and create new devices. So now Eric Matthews and Hoffman are both also, they're like pawns in this game. They're not really like a part of it. They have nothing. They can't do anything. But Eric Matthews is kind of like hung by a noose and standing on a block of ice that's melting and dripping water into a pan. Now, if the ice and Eric Matthews tip this scale, the water will slide down and land on Hoffman, who has electrical wires sitting in the water with him. So if the water hits the wires, it'll go off and kill Hoffman. There's also a guy there in charge of making sure that the game goes smoothly, and the guy that's there is the one from the beginning that had his mouth sewn shut.
Yeah.
So now Riggs is going to a school. That's where his third test is. At the school, there are 2 people who have already been tested. It's a woman and her abusive husband. The woman's job, there's poles, stabbed through them. Through the man, they're all through his major arteries. Through the woman, they're through non-fatal arteries, or, non-fatal parts of her body. In order to free herself from him, she has to remove all of the poles, which will kill her abusive husband, but free her. Riggs gets there and is not allowed to help. And it seems like he's learned his lesson because he doesn't help. He pulls out the last pole, but also leaves the woman there to dangle. And he pulls the fire alarm so people go and save her, but he is not the one that actually saves her. So it's like, okay, maybe he learned his lesson. Now, here's a weird scene. A bunch of cops show up to save the woman that was strapped there. And what happens is, like, a surprise trap goes off and impales one of them with one of the spears and kills her. And then Perez and Strom go off, find a billy puppet. As Perez, like, looks at the billy puppet, its face explodes and shoots shards into her. But it doesn't kill her. Now, I've already explained Eric's game. Now here's where Eric's game develops, is the guy from the beginning with the mouth sewn shut gives Eric a gun and one bullet to do whatever he wants with. He could kill himself, he could kill anyone in the room, but Eric holds on to it. And it doesn't become useful. It almost does. Now we get a flashback scene to what we think is John's very first test, and maybe it is his very first test.
But maybe it's not, because all the movies contradict each other.
Yeah, but I think this is his first test. His first test is against the man who caused him to lose his baby, a man by the name of Cecil. His game is to shove his face through 6 knives that will cut into his face, obviously, and push a button that will release him from the chair he's strapped to. He starts to do this, but the trap breaks, and, like, the chair breaks underneath him, and he's free, and that's how you know this is Jigsaw's first one, because it's not a perfect trap. And Jigsaw uses that superhuman ability to know that when Cecil's freed from the trap, he's going to probably try and attack John. Which he does. Cecil jumps up to attack John. John sidesteps him, and he falls into a whole bunch of barbed wire, and that's where Cecil dies. Riggs arrives at the place where Hoffman and Eric are being kept. Riggs must not come through the door before the timer runs out, or it will kill everyone.
This is my favorite trap.
My favorite as well. We also learn at this point that this movie takes place simultaneously with Saw 3, the events of Saw 3. Because Strom also arrives at the warehouse. And he hears everything going down from the end of Saw 3. So he hears Amanda get shot, he hears John Kramer die, and then he hears the collar blow up. And that's, he opens the door, sees Jeff. Jeff turns and holds a gun on him, and he's like, "Where's my daughter?" And immediately Strom just blows 3 holes in his chest, and Jeff dies.
Yeah.
Now Riggs intervenes, like he was not supposed to do, and opens the door.
Yeah.
Eric shoots a shot
Eric
to try and
shoots
stop
him,
him.
trying to stop him. That's so frustrating. Eric's on the other side of this room just yelling, "Don't open that door!" How did he not hear him? He does hear him, doesn't he?
It's quiet. He can't really hear him. But then the lawyer also, like, the guy who had his mouth stitched, also turns and he's like, "Don't come through that door!" But he does. He comes through the door. And what happens is it releases a pin that drops 2 gigantic blocks of ice. They swing down and crush Eric Matthews' head. And it is
so
sad. It's
disappointing.
bittersweet, but it is the coolest thing that happens in this movie.
True. It's so sad because Eric Matthews is, for me anyways, the only Saw protagonist that I liked. Like, he's the only one that makes it through more than one movie that I liked.
Yeah.
And he gets his head smashed.
And then the water in the thing tilts down and electrocutes Hoffman. And the guy with his mouth sewn shut digs into a bag to find a tape to play to Riggs, being like, "Oh, you failed, and look what happened." But Riggs thinks he's going for a gun, so Riggs shoots him in the head and listens to the tape. He finds that he was trying to grab a tape, listens to the tape, and up from behind him comes Hoffman. And it turns out that Hoffman was the 3rd accomplice to the Jigsaw murders.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now in charge of the game. And he leaves Riggs to die. And from here on out, Hoffman will be the one in charge of all of the games.
Right. Meanwhile, we don't know this until way later, but there's supposedly 2 other Jigsaw accomplices this whole time.
Yep.
complicated.
And not even he knows that.
Right.
The only other person he knew was working with Jigsaw was Amanda. So now...
Because that's the only person the writers knew was working with Amanda, so...
Exactly. So now what happens is Strom killed Jeff, but is standing inside that room where all of that went down. Hoffman comes up behind him and shuts him in and locks him in. Strom didn't see that it was Hoffman, but the movie ends there.
No, it doesn't. Does it?
Yeah, it does. There's a post-credit scene. No, not in this one. In the next one.
That's in the next one.
But that's how the movie ends. Is he shuts the door on Strom.
Okay.
And until the next movie comes out, we're led to believe that that's Strom is gonna die in there.
I just must have been confusing because I remembered the last scene of this movie being Strong opening his eyes in the water tank.
No, that's how the next one starts. So what about Saw 4 works and what doesn't?
I don't know. I think the traps are cool, for the most part. I think the carried over continuity is really cool. I think the idea that they're all taking place kind of at the same time as Saw 3 was a neat twist that I didn't expect. So I like this one. I thought the main protagonist was all right.
Riggs?
Yeah.
Was there anything that you didn't like about it?
Not inherently.
How much did you piddle?
3/4.
3/4 of a piddle, huh?
Yeah.
What's the measurement of a full piddle?
I don't know.
That's the...
How am I supposed to put a picture of 3/4 of a piddle? We'll figure it out, I guess.
It's less piddle than for Saw 2, but it's more piddle than for Saw 1.
Good God. Alright.
Okay. Alex, what do you think?
I think it all worked, really. Good, solid movie in the franchise. Good characters, good acting, good effects, good music.
Yeah, at this point in the series, I think the acting is pretty good.
Yeah.
The only really mess up was maybe 1 and 8. Okay, yeah.
I don't
I
know
don't know.
which one you're referring to. So
Yeah.
8's not that bad.
Yeah. For the most part.
I think the acting gets better as the series goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than Jill, I hate Jill.
I can't stand Jill, but that's
she shows up increasingly throughout the rest of the
she's
series.
really a problem in 6 and 7 for me. So.
But what I think worked was characters.
Yeah.
Biggest thing in this movie was the characters, like Hoffman. I love Hoffman. Strom is great. Like you said, the protagonist Riggs was good. And then you've got like the carryover of Eric Matthews, which was great. The world building is fantastic in this. Like you said, it's like it builds on Saw 3. You see that happening, and Eric Matthews is carried over. All of that, it all works. What doesn't work for me is a lot of the traps in this one I found incredibly forgettable, and Riggs' story is also incredibly forgettable. I could not for the life of me remember what Saw 4 was about. I could remember Eric Matthews was in the movie, and I could remember the beginning trap, but the rest of it was like the girl with her scalp getting ripped back, and the motel owner did not come to me until I was watching the movie. So,
fair enough, I guess.
I did piddle. I did in fact piddle. I liked this one.
Thinking about it, I have no idea what Saw 5 is about, so inform us.
I will inform you on what Saw 5 was about. Saw 5. Saw 5 opens with a man in a pendulum trap. He is responsible for the death of a woman.
I now remember what Saw 5 is about.
I just remember this trap.
He must crush all of the bones in his hands to survive. He does this, but the pendulum does not stop.
You say pendulum weird.
Pendulum.
Pendulum. You say pendulum.
Yeah.
You did the first time.
Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Pendulum. There's no G in the word. Pendulum. Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Pendulum.
I don't think it's pendulum. I think
It's
that's
pendulum.
It's pendulum.
I don't know.
Pendulum. Where is...
It's like, what's another word with silent D's? There's a few.
But there's no
Ortiz,
G in the word
silent
anywhere.
T's.
There's nothing that would make a J sound.
The D.
The DU.
Jarek.
DU. The DU makes a pendulum.
Pendulum.
What do I put?
I feel like they're both acceptable pronunciations.
I feel like you're an idiot.
It's like caramel or caramel. Some people say caramel, some people say
You
caramel.
also said heckin' something weird right before you talked about the motel. You better catch it in editing. You said the wrong word, and I was like, that word doesn't make sense. I knew what word you were... Pendulum. Pendulum.
Pendulum.
I still think it's acceptably pronounced either way.
Well, I think her name is weird because it's spelled Hallie,
Oh my god.
like Allie, but with an H in front.
He has to crush both hands to stop the pendulum.
There you go.
Yeah, it says here in the dictionary. It makes a J sound.
Pendulum.
He crushes the bones in his hand, but the pendulum doesn't stop, making this another unwinnable trap. There's also a man watching this, and we find out that that man was not John Kramer, it was Hoffman. We also learn that the man strapped to this table killed Hoffman's sister, and that Hoffman used... He created this trap to kill the guy that killed his sister and framed it on Jigsaw. Which is when Jigsaw contacted Hoffman and made him an accomplice. But more on that later. We pick back up with Strom, who is locked in the room from the end of the last movie, meaning this takes place literally 2 minutes later. He finds an escape door that has a tape. The tape tells him to stay put. But Strom literally says, "Fuck you," and proceeds on. He's jumped by Hoffman in a pig mask, and his head is placed inside of a box that begins filling with water. This trap is also unwinnable, but Strom outsmarts it and uses a pen to perform a tracheotomy, stabbing himself in the throat, and then he uses the pen to breathe.
This might be my favorite trap in the movie.
I like the way he gets around it.
Yeah, because it's like
favorite.
it's
Yeah.
the coolest solution to the...
This is not your favorite trap in the movie, I promise you that.
Oh,
And you'll figure out what one it is when we get it.
okay.
Okay.
I believe you.
Hoffman walks out carrying Jeff's daughter, so she doesn't die.
Yep.
Bit of a lighthearted moment there. I was happy.
Bit of a weird post-credit scene explaining it.
Yeah. And he goes to the cops, the lone survivor of the night, but then Strom comes out. And Hoffman's kind of like, oops. He doesn't like that. Now back to the games being... Oh, sorry. Now, a new game is being played, and it's kind of like the idea from Saw 2. 5 strangers are somehow connected and must work together to escape a big series of puzzles. And I'm going to spoil the plot twist on this one right now. Each trap is winnable with all 5 people surviving the entire time. But instead, the way this goes down is each time they enter a new trap, one more person dies.
Because they're all idiots.
Because they're all idiots.
Every single character in this movie is an idiot, except for Strong.
Strom.
I said Strong?
Strom.
Did I say Strong?
Strom.
Yeah.
Well, let's look it up.
Except for Strom.
Strom.
So their first puzzle is they all have collars around their necks. And they're all tied together by one wire. Each time one person goes forward, the rest get pulled back. They need to get the keys in front of them before the collars tighten and decapitate them on the razors behind their heads. Through a series of
unfortunate events.
not working together, 4 of them manage to get the keys in front of them, and one lady dies.
It's so easy. It's like
So the way that I always pictured this working was like, just take turns getting the keys.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I pictured
Don't
it.
rip on the cord and stop other people from getting there. But it also turns out later in the movie that one key would have worked in every lock because the keys were all the same.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
I wouldn't have thought of that either. I wouldn't have been like, here, try and use my key. It might save you. I would have just been like, hey, let's fucking work together here. Like, you go first, and then we'll just work our way down the line.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
There's also another game in this movie, but it's not necessarily a Saw game. It's a game of cat and mouse between Strahm and Hoffman. Because Strahm knows that Hoffman is the third Jigsaw member and is trying to prove it, while at the same time Hoffman is trying to catch Strahm and essentially just kill him, but technically test him.
Yeah.
Anyways, back with the escape room gang. The next escape room is the easiest escape room and the most hard to watch because it's so obvious. What happens is there are grates blocking tunnels.
This is my favorite trap in the movie. Is it?
No.
Oh, never mind.
There's 3 keys for each grate, which means that only 3 people can hide inside of these tunnels. But there's 4 people left. And so they smash down these jars holding the keys. 3 people get in. 1 guy does not. It is so stupid because...
Why not just climb in with another person?
Just put 2 people in one tunnel. I don't get how
You would actually be able to fit all people in one tunnel.
Yeah, I don't
Probably.
get how no one was like, maybe 2 of us could fit in here. I don't know why they were like, oh, there's no way to survive this. Everyone dies.
Yeah, good lord.
It's just too obvious. But this is also the point where, no, never mind. I'll get there later, because they all figure out what each other does for a job, but it becomes important later. Not yet. In a flashback scene, we see John abduct Hoffman and put him through a quote-unquote test, where Hoffman is strapped to a chair, and there's a shotgun on the chair, and Jigsaw's like, oh, you should have, he's like, you shouldn't try and copy me because you're not me, and your game was unwinnable and inferior to mine. I teach people how to survive, like, how to go on with their life. You just take people's lives. You're a murderer. I don't like murderers. And the test was literally just, like, John Kramer pulls the trigger on the gun, but it doesn't kill him because it wasn't loaded. And it was, like, so stupid. Because somehow that convinces Hoffman to be like, John's right. I'll work with John and I'll do things his way. It was like, it didn't make any sense. It was dumb.
Yeah, but Tobin Bell needed to be in the movie, so they had to find some way to get him in there.
Yeah, pretty much. Now back to the main game. The group's next test is to complete a circuit. In order to do this, they have to put one of the remaining girls in a bathtub and stick her with 5 electrical prods. Each prod connects to the water and unlocks a bolt on the door. I'm not really sure if the science behind this one is accurate.
Not really, probably not.
Yeah,
I had a solution to this one that didn't involve all 5 people being in the tub.
what's that?
The dead body.
Yeah. That's what they should have done, is they should have...
Thrown a dead body in there.
Well, they couldn't, because in order to... First off, they didn't know how that game was going to be played. But also, the guy in the last room behind them was literally just like a pile of blood on the floor because he got exploded.
Was there not another body they could go get?
Each time they go and they start a new trap, the door shuts and locks behind them. But the next one would have been the best one to use a dead body for.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, yeah.
So the way around this one was, if all 5 people had been alive, what they would have done is they would have held the electrical prod and put their hand in the water, and it would have given each person a survivable shock. Again, I don't know how realistic this is.
I think it depends on the water, if I remember correctly. There's like tap water is different than other kinds of water for how it conducts electricity, but
Yeah,
we can assume that whatever he was doing is
accurate.
It'd have to be something they'd have to test on MythBusters or something.
Yeah.
You know?
So, 2 of them move on. The final 2 move on to the last room. The final game is each person needs to cut into their hand
Dead body.
to drain their blood. They have to give 10 pints of blood, and Jigsaw tells us that a human body runs on 10 pints, but can survive on 5. So the
Yeah,
two
like
remaining
that's an
people,
exact measurement.
yeah, the two remaining people are like, okay, we each give 5 and we'll make it out of this alive. But if they had like learned anything, which they did before they started this test, because the girl is like, we could have all survived this, and there's 5 holes here because we each could have given blood, and we would only have to give a little bit. And the door is not locked at this point. So if they'd gone and grabbed the girl from the bathtub, brought her in, they could have drained her blood. But I don't know, they weren't clear on what the rules were or something, so they didn't, and they just cut into themselves. But before they do that, they realize that they all were connected through a fire that went on. The fire was on like an apartment building or something that had 8 people in it, so 8 people died. One guy started the fire. One guy hired the guy to start the fire because she needed the property. One girl said that there was no one living in that property, even though she knew there was, so that she could sell the property. One was a fire inspector that covered up the whole burning and said no one wasn't at fault for it, so everyone got off. And the last guy was an investigative journalist who published a fake article, even though he knew the facts. So that's how they were all connected. Yeah, that's pretty much that. They each give 5 pints of blood. This is another one of the brutal saw traps that made me physically cringe when I watched it, as they sawed down their arm.
Because I would have tried to do it, turn my wrists, cut the hand off maybe, and then just bleed out the wrist in there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have just gone up the arm, because you're gonna lose that whole arm.
Yeah. Well, actually, they don't, because we see one of the guys in Saw 7 still alive with both arms.
Well, in reality, he would have lost it.
Yeah, but that's the main game. The two of them drain their 5 pints of blood each, and they both survive.
Yeah, because the human body can't survive without 5 pints of blood, which is why the second their 5 pints of blood were in there, they stopped bleeding, I guess.
So now we're back with Hoffman and Strom. Hoffman has framed Strom as the Jigsaw Killer through a series of events throughout the movie, but Strom has finally tracked down where Hoffman is, and their final confrontation leads them to a room with a box. Strom must trust Hoffman and get inside of the box, but instead he throws Hoffman inside of the box, thinking that he's just trapped Hoffman. But what happens is the box sinks into a floor, the door shuts, and Strom is stuck in this room where the Star Wars walls close in.
Yep.
And crush Strom alive, flatten him like a pancake, and he grips the ceiling to try and survive, and it literally severs his arm off and leaves his fingers stuck on the grate and flattens the rest of his body.
Now, you think this is my favorite trap.
I think this is your favorite trap.
I hate this trap.
How?
Because that's the only likable character in the rest of the series that dies right here.
No, Hoffman. I
Hoffman. Can't stand Hoffman. I like Strom.
Yeah, Strom was good.
I thought Strom was cool. I hate
like
Hoffman. I think Hoffman's annoying.
This is my favorite trap because of the mix-up. Little fake out.
It is a cool fake out. I guess it's cool because it's like you always wonder, oh, what would happen in Star Wars if they died? Now you know, but...
No, I've never wondered that.
But,
I knew exactly what would happen. They'd get crushed.
Yeah, well, I guess now you get to see it. I don't know.
All right, tell me
it's the best
what
one.
worked about this, what didn't work about this.
The traps were... No, never mind. I was going to say they were cool, but they're not. They're really easily avoidable.
It's a mostly forgettable movie.
It is. You didn't mention a single character's name in the traps.
Yeah, I don't remember any of them.
It's because all of them are horrible. The only thing that I think works in this movie is the cat and mouse game between Strom and Hoffman.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Everything else in this movie I don't like.
It's just bland.
I remember this game mainly because I thought it was so avoidable.
Yeah.
Better than I remembered.
But I like the game because I like the progression of rooms.
Yeah.
And I like how they could have all gotten out alive, but they were all kind of stupid. So
yeah, all of the characters in the Saw trap were idiots.
Yeah.
That I did not like, but
so,
like you said, the Strom Hoffman chase was the best part of this movie.
I might give it a.
Oh yeah, I forgot to rate it.
2
half piddles, but that's a full piddle, Alex. What the hell?
I didn't finish. What if I did
2
Stroms out of Hoffman?
I was thinking like 2 jigs on a jigsaw.
2 Stroms out of Hoffman is a 2 out of 10. I don't know.
It's a 2 out of 10. Hoffman is a full 10. Strom is a 1.
Hoffman's a catch, I guess.
Maybe a little piddle, like a
little,
like
little
a dribble.
I think we're all in
A
agreement.
dribble.
That's a dribble-worthy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not unbearable, but it's also not great.
All right, I think we're making good time at this point. We're going a little quicker.
Yeah.
So welcome to Saw 6. Saw 6 opens with a new trap that involves people who have done bad things giving their pound of flesh.
People who have done bad things. This movie starts that's every single Saw movie that's ever come out.
I know, but I couldn't remember what they did, and then they explained it, and so I wrote it down, but I'm just reading my notes so I can go quick. What this means is they have to physically cut off their own flesh and put it on a scale, and whoever gives the least amount of flesh dies. The 2 people are in this trap because they do their jobs.
This is my
bank
favorite
loan
trap.
Officers. No.
Yeah, because it's a great Shakespeare reference.
Oh my god.
And as we all know, Shakespeare is the greatest thing in the world, which is why he's still taught to this day.
This is Derek's last episode of the podcast.
No, this is not my favorite trap.
Yeah. But these people are literally in the trap because they recklessly give bank loans to people who can't afford it. And it's like, well, fuck you, Jigsaw. They are literally just people doing their jobs. Like, this is pretty fucked up. And I don't agree with it. And this also does really start a thing in the rest of these movies of putting people in saw traps that do not belong in saw traps.
Well, I think it's been going on since the first movie. Zepp did not belong.
At this point, it's like blatantly everybody through most of these saw traps do not deserve to be in the saw traps.
I guess you could say that's because Hoffman's philosophy is different than Jigsaw's.
But Jigsaw's the one that picked these people.
Oh.
And you find that out because he gives an envelope
Right,
to
that's right.
Hoffman as his dying thing.
Well, shoot, never mind.
So the man immediately, he's a big boy. He's a big chubby boy. He immediately starts cutting his stomach out, putting it to use. He's dropping it in, the scale's tipping to his side. The girl's not doing much. She's kind of just screaming. But then she gets the burst of adrenaline and chops off her full arm, slides it down the chute. It tips the scale just before the time runs up, and the chubby boy gets 2 drills through the skull, and he's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I maybe would have tried to break the mechanics of the thing.
That one, I mean, they only had 60 seconds, so I think that...
I would have gone
better
for the
move
left
pretty
hand
quick.
first. Once that was in there, if he still outweighed me, I would have just let myself die.
We then meet Will, who is the head of Umbrella Health Insurance, a company that as a whole will be tested in this game. I'd like to take a moment to say, fuck insurance agencies. They are absolute scams.
Jigsaw,
they
you did
suck.
good.
However, the people in this movie do not deserve what happened to them because most of them are just doing their job. And a lot of them are scummy, but they're not you should die levels of scummy. We then catch up with Hoffman, who learns that Perez is still alive. She was the FBI agent that got the shards of Jigsaw doll in her face.
I do not remember that.
Now they all think that Strom is Jigsaw, and they're asking Hoffman for help catching him because no one knows that he's dead, obviously. They all think he's still at large. They give him the offer that everything they know, he knows. So obviously he takes it because while the FBI are searching for you, obviously you're going to want to know what they know so that you can stay one step ahead of them. They reveal that they think a different person than John or Amanda executed the pendulum trap from the last movie. And they're re-examining the case to determine if it was Strom. Then we learn that Jigsaw's ex-wife is actually working with Hoffman as an accomplice in the games. A bit of a twist that I don't understand because I didn't think she was actually attached to the games.
Yeah, I didn't actually remember she was helping him. I remembered that they had a little rivalry going on, but I didn't quite remember that she was a part of it.
Hoffman goes to set up a game. So what is the game? Well, Will's game. Will is selected to be the head player of the Umbrella Trials. Will recently denied health coverage to a man for BS reasons, and the man died because he couldn't get coverage elsewhere. The man's family is now suffering because of it. So this man's family is playing witness to the game in a cage. Will must make decisions at each step of the game, deciding who of the umbrella insurance agency deserves to live and who doesn't.
I'm watching it as you get
God.
there, because I don't remember any of the traps in this movie.
The first test is between himself and the janitor, and every game is supposed to be based around the same grounds as the insurance policy, so the man more fit should survive while the other one should die.
Right.
So the janitor's test, they're each hooked up to a device where they have respirators on. And basically, each time they breathe, these, clamps will crush them. And so whoever can hold their breath longer survives the trap. And the other one breathes so much that they die from the clamps. Now, the janitor is a poor man who smokes and does not deserve to be in this trap for any reason at all. He is literally just a pawn in this so that Will learns his lesson, which...
doesn't matter in the end anyways.
Yeah. So obviously Will wins because he's more fit than this chubby old smoking janitor. And, that's that. A nosy reporter who is pestering both Hoffman and Jill winds up getting pignapped and put in a cage much like the man's family, but she can't watch what's going on. So she's just stuck in this cage until Will completes his trial. Will is also playing to keep this woman alive. This woman is his sister. And so if he fails, she will die. We then learn that Will developed the system as to who gets coverage and who doesn't. So now I agree he's also pretty shitty and slimy because he makes something so strict that it's like only people with perfect health get health insurance, which is like they're the ones that aren't going to even need it. So that's a pretty scummy business model. Will's next test is to press a button. The button decides who lives and who dies. Actually, he's holding like two chains. It's not a button, but same premise. The two people in this game are a young man who has no family, but according to the system deserves life more than the old woman with a family, because the old woman is old and has more health problems, and the young man is healthy and fit. They're each connected to a barbed wire noose, and whichever chain he lets go of, that person will hang. He takes time trying to pick, but he chooses to save the old woman, which shows that his algorithm is flawed. And he learned a whole new lesson just then, I guess. We then learn that Will is the man who canceled John's health coverage because John tried to seek an experimental treatment for his cancer, and that's why John is pissed at him and kind of vengefully put him in here. Which also breaks John's moral code of, we can't ever do this out of spite. The tests have to be done to random people to teach them how to live.
Yeah.
But, Will's next game is to guide his company lawyer through a maze in a very hot boiler room. There is searing hot steam blocking her path, and the only way to stop it is for Will to pull a lever that then redirects the steam to blast him instead. She makes it through the maze, but has some bad flesh burns from when Will accidentally let go of this, bar because it got too hot for him. And she gets to the top and sees that there's the key to the trap that she's actually hooked to is inside of Will. And rather than working together with him to try and get the key out, she immediately grabs a saw blade and tries to just chop him into bits and get the key out. The timer goes off and shoots a nail through her head and kills her. Now back with Hoffman, the FBI has a voice match for the pendulum tape.
This is a good scene.
So they're on their way to give it a listen. And Hoffman starts sweating because he knows that his voice is going to be the one on the tape. Cuts back to Will's game. Will's next game is to decide which two of his 6 bullpen members are worthy of life. The bullpen at the company is in charge of finding even the smallest errors in people's insurance applications, so when they need coverage, they can be denied. They're on one of the most memorable traps in the entire series, the shotgun carousel.
Mm-hmm.
They spin in circles, stopping once at each person. Each time the carousel stops, the shotgun goes off and kills whoever's there. Unless Will puts his hands into a device that will drive, like, kind of nails through it and stab into his hands.
Yeah.
He has to, like, mutilate his hands in order to save these people's lives. While he does that, the shotgun will angle itself up rather than killing the person.
Does he have to do it to both hands or just the one?
And he only gets like
both.
he only gets 2 of them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
only
he
two.
can only do it twice. So,
Yeah.
four of the 6 die, and my favorite one that dies is the last guy to
Yeah.
die, because he's the last guy on the carousel, which means Will has saved 2 people before him. He saves the 5th guy. He saves the 2nd guy and the 5th guy, and so the 6th guy knows that he's dead because he can't be saved anymore, and he gives some pretty good, like, well, fuck me lines.
Yeah,
He's like, oh, great, you've killed me. You look at me while you're killing me.
I
that
like
kind of
that.
thing.
I like that guy.
That's probably my favorite trap of the movie.
It's my favorite trap of the movie.
Hoffman arrives at the voice.
Never mind, this is my favorite trap of the movie. Just because of...
Hoffman arrives at the voice analysis lab just in time for one of them to solve whose voice it was. Of course, he knows it was his voice, and he kills everyone in the room. He slits the throat of the head of the FBI, uses the voice analysis girl as a human shield while Perez tries to shoot him, and then he Predator-style prison shanks Perez until she dies.
I like that when it's like going through all the different filters and it keeps saying, right now you're feeling trapped. And then it
Yeah.
finally gets... That was good. That's why it's my favorite trap. It's because he was trapped by his own feelings.
So here's what it all comes down to. The family from before has a lever connected to acid. Well, we, the audience, are led to believe that flipping this switch will kill Will's sister, who was the reporter from earlier, but we already talked about that. Will arrives at the family just in time. The family now gets to decide if Will's sister lives or dies. They get this choice because Will is essentially responsible for the death of their dad because he denied coverage. The mom forgives him and can't pull the switch, but the son, Roderick from Good Old Diary of a Wimpy Kid, is like, nah, fuck that. And he flips the switch, and a bit of a twist happens because rather than the sister being melted by acid, a big bed of, like, syringes comes down, sticks into Will's back, and then starts pumping him full of acid. And, I mean, this is, like, grotesque and disgusting as his body, like, melts apart, and it's just like a big puddle of, like, melted skin and blood. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Still not shotgun carousel levels of, like, cool, but...
Unique.
And the bottom half
It's-
of his body falls, but the top half, Gary Busey's it because it's pinned to the wall.
Yeah, it's pretty good. As for Hoffman, we learn that Hoffman was the reason Amanda failed her test and killed Lynn. He knew that she was with Cecil the night he aborted John's baby when he was trying to break in for the meds. And she was the reason that he went in because she demanded that he goes and steals the meds so that they can get their fix.
I'm sorry, who?
What?
Who's the girl?
Amanda.
That was Amanda?
Yeah, it was with Cecil. And so here's what happens. Somehow, Hoffman knew that Amanda was with Cecil that night, and so he used that as leverage against Amanda and said, if you do not kill Lynn, I'll tell
Right.
John that you...
Because then that's
you
why
were the
in
reason
Saw
that his
3
baby
she's
died.
reading that note crying because she knows.
Yep.
Was the prostitute came back though, right?
Yeah, the prostitute...
I thought
from-
she
She's
was in
more
this-
than just a prostitute. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Continue.
The more than just a prostitute from Saw 2 that got her hand stuck in the glass shard, or the glass shard.
Because I remembered,
She's back.
I remembered she was the one in the car, but I
No.
guess I was wrong. What did she
was
do?
actually in the flashback in Saw, like, 4 or something like that.
Oh.
She came back to proposition John for a little sucky suck that he denies, and she runs off. She was not with Cecil, though.
So she was unimportant.
But she was at that same scene. Yeah, she was unimportant to that.
Oh.
Amanda was the one with Cecil when that happened. But John somehow knew that Hoffman
Knew.
was forcing Amanda to kill Lynn, and so Hoffman wanted him tested again, which is when Jill comes in and captures Hoffman and puts him through a test where he is now connected to the reverse bear trap 2.0.
Looks cooler.
It's an unwinnable trap, or it's supposed to be. There's no key to let him out. And so what happens is
He does
he's
a
in a
good
chair.
old Eric Matthews
he
on
does
his
an Eric
hand.
Matthew to his hands and bashes his hand enough to the point where he can slip out of the strap, unlocks his other hand, rushes to a door, shoves the bear trap in between two bars. When it opens, it's not enough to, like, kill him. He rips out of it, which tears away a huge chunk of his cheek. And then the bear trap forces the rest of the bars open and lands. But Hoffman survived it. And that's how the movie ends. And
Yeah.
I would actually say that it's not my favorite trap of the movie, but it's my favorite scene of the movie.
Me too.
Is Hoffman outsmarting that trap. That was pretty badass.
It's cool to see somebody outsmart a trap like that.
Yeah,
Right.
which is why it was cool in the last one with the pen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a solid movie.
Yeah, I like this one. I think this is one of the stronger sequels.
What works, what doesn't.
The traps work.
The traps. I think the main character in this one, the insurance guy, I liked him. I didn't have a problem with him.
He was most sympathetic, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was like...
He wasn't
was
a
bit of an
horrible
asshole,
person.
but he definitely was going... Like, you could see him... The actor did a good job, I
Yeah,
guess. And
you could see him
like,
change.
learn lessons
And then by the end,
kinda
he
become a
really
broken
has
man.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
Solid.
I piddled.
A dribble. Maybe a little more.
Little
Double
extra
dribble.
dribble out of Alex.
You got a order of a double extra dribble with the side of...
Hey, one double dribble. I'm coming right up.
With a side of urination from this guy. Maybe. I don't know. It's not as good as Saw 1 or 2 or 4. But
I
it's the next best.
I actually
After
might say
that.
I like this one more than 1 a little bit.
It's fair. This one's more fast-paced than 1 for sure.
Yeah. This is my third favorite Saw.
Now, Derek does not remember Saw 7,
I do
so
not.
he's going to be watching the movie through my verbalization of it.
Oh boy.
Before we begin, I'd like to give a good fuck you to the makers of this movie. Not just because this was supposed to be the end of the series, and if you ask me, it's pretty terrible, but because they intentionally tried to leave us on some of the biggest fucking plot twists of the entire series. They had no intention of wrapping up what they start at the end of this movie, and I hate them for that. Now
Yeah.
let's get into the
Yeah.
movie.
You tell him.
This is the 3D one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's another issue. Is 3D movies
Always
don't work.
suffer from gimmicky shit.
They don't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have terrible CGI because they're like, look what we can do with this, and then it's such a cheesy little shot.
Well, eventually, when we get to the Friday the 13th franchise, Alex, you'll realize why you're wrong.
Yeah, Friday the 13th 3D, the third movie, has some fantastic use of 3D that you can see even when you don't have the glasses on.
You know what? Yeah, when I was a child and I only wore glasses, I couldn't wear 3D glasses, so maybe that's why I'm a little salty.
Yeah. What about Shark Boy and Lava Girl? That's a good one with
Yeah,
3D.
or Spy Kids 3D.
Well, guess what? Same deal. Actually, I did enjoy Spy Kids 3D.
It's like you got me there. We need to do the Spy Kids as one of these podcasts.
fuck.
We used to have them.
We don't
I don't know
anymore.
what happened to them. The movie starts with a big plot twist right out the gates. Dr. Gordon is still alive.
Yay!
Hell yeah.
It's a cool continuation of the
I do like
first
it.
movie.
I like it.
He slithered his way out of that trap, cauterized his wound on a hot pipe, and then passed out. And we'll learn what happens to him later.
Played some real life Slither.io.
We then see the lamest saw trap of all time.
Yeah, this one's
one that
a
has
dumb
been
one.
dubbed. It's titled Public Humiliation.
I thought it was Execution.
Public execution. I call it public humiliation because it's humiliatingly stupid.
It's humiliating to the Saw fans who watched this movie in public with people who were normies.
Normies get out.
Public humiliation is where two people who are each dating the same girl have to try and kill each other using saw blades.
Uh-huh.
If they do not kill one or the other, the girl who they are both dating will drop onto a saw blade that will cut her in half. The two of them tussle for a little bit, but then both decide, fuck this, the girl's not worth it. They angle the saw blade right in the middle. She goes down, cuts her in half.
Looks bad.
It looks bad.
Horrible. So avoidable.
Why were these guys picked to be in a saw trap? These are not drug dealers. These are not murderers. These are two people who are dating the same girl. What?
Yeah, the problem is, why would Jigsaw waste his time on these guys?
And why is it like a public thing? None of them have been public up until this one. What is the point?
Yeah, and there's so many things with it. They're public to start, so people are just walking past these guys knocked out with giant saws in front of them until it starts up. Should have gotten them out before then. Also, there's so many ways to not die. You can push the saw towards one of the guys just as long as he dips out of the way. It may cut his arm a little bit, but it's not going to kill him. You can angle it so where it's in the middle, but then you continue to push it to one side or the other a little bit more. It won't kill the girl. It'll miss her. So many ways to beat this trap.
And this one also looks like it was filmed for a different movie.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
The only clear shot in the whole movie.
Because the Saw movies have this weird filter that I talked about at the beginning.
Yeah, but this one's really bright. And
this one is like a clean shot, like filmed with a digital camera. Then it goes back to like their grainy film look.
Yeah,
Super
but then
weird.
I mean, the only thing that confirms that it's part of the movie is you get to see the little Jigsaw doll.
Yeah, seriously.
It feels like it came out of Jigsaw, the movie.
It does.
Except it's worse than anything in Jigsaw, the movie.
For sure. Now we meet our real test subject for this film. Bobby is a man who wrote a book about how he survived a jigsaw test.
Think Jigsaw. Think John Kramer when he read this book went, God damn it, Bobby. I bet you he did.
He says that the way he survived the test was by shoving hooks through his pectoral muscles and using them to hoist himself to safety. The only thing is, he was never in a saw trap, and he made it up just for the monies. Now we cut back to Jill. Jill is the next person to wind up in a trap. It's an unwinnable trap.
Oh, you skipped the worst scene in the movie, like the hardest scene to watch.
Tell him.
When Hoffman stitches his cheek back together.
Oh.
That's rough.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was...
I think that's disgusting. It's hard for me to look at.
Anyways, Jill is in an unwinnable trap. There's a train track with like a rocket-powered car set up, and it's like spiked at the end so that it rips through her, and she's like, I don't know, her
she's like
arms
tied
and
up.
legs are tied up so it'll blast right through the middle of her, and Hoffman just goes, game over, bitch, and like launches it down, and it splits her into 3 pieces. And then she wakes up from a dream. And it was like, why did they add that? I don't get it. This movie just has needless shit, like, in all of it. It's so dumb. Now for the Lincoln Park trap. A lot of traps happen pretty rapidly in this.
This one might be my favorite.
Definitely my favorite trap in the movie. The Lincoln Park trap.
I don't remember any of the other traps in this movie, so I'm going to agree with you.
Yep, that's exactly how I was when I went into this. I was like, I know that this one has, like, the Lincoln Park
he
thing,
hoists himself up with his pecs at the end and he fails.
If I'm being honest, I didn't remember that.
But I don't remember anything else.
I'm not sure if it's actually the full band of Lincoln Park, but at least Chester Bennington.
I think it's only Chester.
Yeah.
I think the others are just
Chester and
actors.
3 others play a gang of racists. The whole trap revolves around a car. Evan is in the driver's seat, that's Chester, and he must rip his backskin off to pull a lever which will stop the car from falling off its jacks. Well, what happens when he fails? Because he does fail. He fails. The car drops on top of his girlfriend's head and crushes it, like the car tire. It then drives away, ripping his friend's arms and jaw off as they're connected to the car's back bumper, by chains. The car then rams into another one of his friends, who is strung up against the garage, which kills him, and finally crashes into another car, which launches Chester out of the car, smashing him through another car and killing him.
basically
awesome.
what I get from this is it's okay to be a Nazi as long as you're willing to save your friends.
Immediately we join a Jigsaw PTSD circle of people who we've seen in the past and some that we haven't seen at all. One lady is describing her trap, and the audience gets to watch it. god damn is it stupid.
Yeah, I don't get it.
The trap, takes place in a gnome factory for some reason, where her and her abusive boyfriend are dangling from bars that are actually, razors that are cutting into their hands. Below them is a lot of overturned lawnmowers with the blades spinning. So whoever falls in dies. I don't know what happens to the other one. They just dangle there till someone saves them. It doesn't make sense. The way she wins this trap is by slapping her boyfriend in the face, which immediately knocks him into the lawnmowers, and he dies, and the blood spurts up, and it's another useless added, jigsaw trap. It's just bad. At the meeting is the girl from the last movie who had to cut her arm off, and she's not very happy, because the girl who killed her boyfriend, and she dropped him into lawnmowers, is it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And then she's like, fuck you. You had to be put through a saw trap just to break up with your boyfriend. I lost my arm. And the only good thing that came out of that is handicap parking at the mall.
Yeah, I remember that line.
And then Bobby goes into a little soap opera thing where he's like, we've all grown from our experiences, and he kisses his wife for the cameras and shit. And Dr. Gordon comes out of the shadows sarcastically clapping at him and just ridicules him for the shitty speech that he just gave. Finally, Bobby gets captured and his game begins. Bobby is put in the game because he was never really in a game before, and that pissed Jigsaw off. His game starts with a simple test. He's hoisted in a cage above a bed of spikes. The bottom of the cage opens, and Bobby kind of slips out a little bit, but catches the cage, uses momentum to swing past the floor of spikes, and doesn't die.
Could you imagine if he did die?
Yeah,
right
I was
there?
gonna say.
Yeah, that would have been.
It just opens and then it's the end of the movie.
That would have been nice.
Or it's like in Saw 3 when Jeff kicks himself off the box. You know how it knocks him out at first and sends him into a flashback? What if he just stayed in that flashback because it just stayed knocked out?
Yeah, but Bobby is the most pathetically worthless character in any of the Saw movies. He is so much worse than Jeff. He's unbearably whiny, and he's a piece of shit, and he fails every one of his Saw traps worse than Jeff failed any of his. Because Jeff managed to survive, save one guy. Bobby does not do the same.
Kinda.
Bobby's terrible.
Yeah, but Jeff's were so avoidable.
I don't know.
Bobby's next test is his publicist is in a trap. She has a fishhook inside of her stomach that's connected to a key. Bobby has to rip the fishhook out of her stomach, get the key, unlock a box, press a button to stop her trap.
I remember this scene.
The trap is 4 spikes aimed at her neck that will move in anytime she screams, so she can't scream while the hook is being ripped out of her stomach. And then if he doesn't press the button, the 4 hooks, or the 4 rods will go through her neck and kill her. He gets the key out, rips it out. It's probably the grossest scene in the movie. Hardest one to watch for sure. And then doesn't get to the box in time. She's been screaming the whole time, so they've moved closer to her neck. He gets to the box, not in time. The things shoot through her neck and she dies. And then he yells at her dead body. So the next one is another girl that worked on the book with him. Bobby has to lift a rack of weights. He literally just has to do calf raises. And spikes will drive into his side when he lifts the weights. So he'll be stabbed in the side lifting the weights. What it stops when he does that is the girl is laying on a hospital gurney that's being lifted towards 3 prongs, 2 aimed at her eyes, 1 aimed at her mouth. If he can't stop it before the time runs out, if he can't hold her off before the time runs out, she'll, impale on those. He fails. She goes into it. The kill is pretty cool, where you watch the things go through her eyes and her mouth and blood comes out. But it's the most avoidable trap in the whole movie, because you don't even have to stand on the thing. You don't actually have to do a calf raise. If you stand below it, use your hands to lift up the weights and just hold it, the spikes are not going to stab into you. They're just going to, like, look at each other. And maybe Hoffman's not going to like that and, like, forcibly execute her because you cheated.
He's got other things to worry about at this point.
But I don't think he's not, like, watching the games happen. So, Bobby, you're an idiot. And another one dies. His next test is to guide his friend across a few thin boards. His friend can't see anything. If he fails, his friend will be choked to death on the noose around his neck.
Why can't his friend see anything?
He's got a blindfold on.
Yeah. If they don't reach each other in 60 seconds, the noose will tighten and kill him. And, the trap is kind of lame. Mm-hmm. So what Bobby has to do is get a key and unlock the thing for him. Bobby gets the key, the other guy gets guided across the planks, but they're still not together, so Bobby's like, I'm gonna toss you the key, try and catch. The guy's fucking blind. What is he supposed to do?
I remember that. I do remember this.
He throws him the key, like, bounces off of his chest, falls, and then he dies. Again, Bobby, Jesus Christ. He is the worst.
Toss it to a blind guy?
Yeah, the worst. Now, in order to progress from here, Bobby has to rip out 2 of his own teeth that have, like, code combinations. And, like, all things considered, this is not a hard trap.
Yeah, but somehow he actually does it.
Yeah, the second thing that he passes is this. And this is also the last thing he passes. So what did he manage to do? He managed to swing himself over a bed of spikes and rip out 2 of his own teeth. I give him no fucking applause. He's the worst.
Yeah, but what did Jeff accomplish? He burnt some toys.
But he saved a man. The guy was just standing in a shitty spot. If the guy had been standing 20 feet to the left.
20 feet. Not even.
20. 2 feet.
Yeah.
A
2
foot.
feet.
Fuck, if he was standing a foot to the left, he wouldn't have died. That's not on Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff saved a man. Jeff saved one person. But didn't learn anything. This guy, I guess he learned not to lie about being in a jigsaw test again, but now he can actually say that he was in that very same jigsaw test, so... His final test is to perform his made-up jigsaw test, and hook 2 hooks into his biceps, hoist him up.
Biceps?
Pectorals. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hoist him, put him into his pectorals, use that to hoist himself up, put together an extension cord, and save his wife. He gets near the top, but when he lets go of the chains to connect the thing, he goes up to connect the thing. He lets go of the chains, puts it together. His pectoral muscles do not hold. They rip out. He falls to the ground. Game over, wife. She's done. She's dead.
Is this the one that burns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd argue this was the hardest to watch. She gets melted.
Yeah, she gets toasted. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, but...
But it's like the same
like,
death as...
I put myself in her shoes. I would rather be in her shoes, like burning to death, than having a hook inside of me being ripped out slowly.
I don't know. I heard burning to death's one of the worst ways to go.
Yeah. Her death, though, I feel like I remember it being more gruesome than... I don't know his name. Oli?
Oh, yeah,
Obi. Her death is more gruesome than Obi, but it's like the same thing.
Well, the difference was he was being cooked by fire, she was being cooked by heat. The fire was not actually touching her. It was the metal thing closed together. It's like a smoker. You have the meat inside and the bottom heats, and that's how it cooks the meat. That's how she was being cooked.
That's pretty rough.
It's a little bit different because she wasn't on fire, whereas Obi was on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's still why. Because imagine just getting so hot that you literally melt.
Yeah, I would not want her death.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in any of these situations.
No, yeah, but if I were to compare the two,
I don't know.
I would have rather had the key.
I think for me, the fishhook key is like, that's fucking bad.
Yeah.
I would have just like yelled the whole time and let the things kill me.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, nah, go to your next test. I'm just
Just let me yell.
You just go, hey, go to your...
Yeah.
Once again, Bobby's an idiot. Because what if he just put his feet on the inside of the hooks and hoisted him up like that?
Yeah. Or if he just...
Idiot.
Used his arms, or maybe again, he would be accused of cheating and been killed.
Yeah.
But he already had fake scars, right?
Yeah, it was like, he was like, I'll prove it to myself that I can do this. And he did it. It was like, you dumbass.
Yeah, well, if he had already had the fake scars, we'd be like, no, I totally did it. See?
Yeah, but he knows that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So now there have been cops on Hoffman's trail the whole movie. And Hoffman leads them into a couple traps. The first one is the main detective trying to catch him. They all know it's Hoffman because he straight up tells them that he's the one. He sends them like videos being like, yeah, I'm the one. Also, Jill tells them. She's like, yep, it's Hoffman. So Hoffman doesn't care about his anonymity anymore. But he leads them to his actual hiding place, where they go in thinking that he's there. They wheel around a chair. On the chair is the neo-Nazi that had his jaw and arms ripped off. And his body falls, and we find out that Hoffman switched places in the coroner's bag. So Hoffman has been transported to the police department in the bag. Now the 3 cops that are in the like little workshop area now all die as a machine gun trap sets off, pops up and Breaking Bad's them.
Yeah.
Shoots up and just blasts them all. And then Hoffman set up another trap at like the games to stop the cops from saving Bobby, where like some
Poisonous gas.
poisonous gas
Goes off.
tablets drop into water, smoke them all out, gas them, they all die. But now Hoffman goes like full badass. He rips out like the coroner opens the bag and Hoffman immediately stabs the guy in the throat. Another guy comes into the room. Hoffman stabs that guy in the throat. Hoffman walks out of the room, stabs another guy in the throat. He goes and...
and Danny Glover is there. He's like, I've already got stabbed in the throat.
he goes into another room, and there's a girl that's been surveilling him basically the whole time. She's been trying to track him. He grabs her, snaps her neck, uses her to trick another cop into opening a door that he then stabs him in the throat. He shoots a hole through a guy's eye, goes and chases down Jill, just fucking pussy kicks Jill real hard.
Straight up cunt punt that bitch.
Yeah, like, I was like, Jesus. He puts her in a chair, straps her into a chair, puts the OG reverse bear trap onto her, and it actually finally works. After 3 fake outs of seeing this trap work, it finally goes off.
And it was disappointing for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
I thought they hyped it up way more than it was worth.
It didn't, like, fully rip her head all the way
Which
back
is every
or
time
something,
you
but-
saw it before, that's what it would do. I guess it's because they were mannequins,
Yeah.
but that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see it full, at least, like, extend
like-
up to the top of her head and, like, rip it open and explode. But it only, like, pops the jaw open.
Yeah, I mean, I thought what happened
It was
pretty
enough.
cool.
I didn't think
Rips
it was
it
all
open,
that cool.
her, like, all you
Tongue.
can see is, like, her mouth, like, ripped. And
Like, the tongue falls out. Yeah, that was alright.
I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was,
I wanted a sick head explosion in there.
yeah. Hoffman goes to his final workshop, lights it ablaze, ready to put the whole jigsaw thing behind him, flee to another country. He's walking out. As he's walking away, 3 pig masks jump him. And who's the main one? Motherfucking Gordon.
Gordon.
He's back.
Do
And then apparently the other 2 are the
Kids from the public humiliation
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this where you see like a montage of what happens to Gordon?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Gordon slithers out. He passes out in the hallway. Kramer nurses him back to health. Mama birds him. And then he's like, let's work together. And Gordon's like, yeah, I guess. And he's been surgically implanting things into all of the people. So things like the Sawtooth Venus flytrap, key in the eye.
Hey, can you tell us that
That
good
was
meme
Gordon.
about the Venus flytrap?
No, you don't get to hear it. Because now it's just going to be really cringy.
I need to hear it.
Nope.
I
you
will
won't.
not give a rating for this movie if you don't.
Well, then I'll make one up for you.
I'm
I'll
not
dub
gonna-
it in later.
I'm not going to talk about my likes and dislikes about this movie unless...
Dubbed it in. It'll just be me going, I really enjoyed this movie because I suck. Because I like Saw 7.
I didn't really enjoy this movie.
Anyways, he puts the thing in there. He sews the guy from part 4's eyes shut. Shit like that. Pretty cool. It was a good scene. And I don't know. I was really excited when that happened.
Yeah, but where would they go with it?
Somewhere. I don't know. There's still plot threads open. But here's what happens. Gordon brings Hoffman into the Part 1 bathroom and makes another return. I don't think we've seen it since, like, Part 4. It makes another return. You've got, like, so many dead bodies just decaying in there at this point.
And a foot.
Does he say hi to his old foot?
I think
he gives it a look.
Yeah, I think he looks at it.
He removes the saw so Hoffman can't get out. He can't cut his leg off. And then he shuts the door.
Do you take away that toilet lid?
No.
Wasn't it? It was all smashed up though.
Probably at this point.
I don't know.
How great would that be if he closed the door and then it immediately opened and Hoffman's like waddling out, holding his toilet lid. He's like,
That's what I want.
He's like,
he found a new way to get out of it. Yeah. That'd be funny.
It'd be cool to see a new way.
He snaps one of the bones of the people near him, uses the jagged edges to cut through his own foot. I don't know.
Well, I would...
He uses the textile strength of multiple bones to snap the old rusted chains.
Yeah, maybe he's just like at this point, hey, wait a minute. This bathroom's so old and unkempt, and he like can kick out the pipe and get out.
He left himself his own contingency in there because he's been working with Jigsaw.
But then...
He lifts a little panel on the floor and was like, here's the key.
The plot twist was that he left that contingency on the wrong side of the bathroom, thinking he would be in Gordon's position.
Still, there's so much.
No, every time they go back, they always put them in Adam's.
Yeah, they do. He just had the better seat.
Yeah, so it's because a pile of body in Adam's spot.
They do it because Gordon had the light switch, and they're like, "We don't want you to have that light switch."
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
it was good.
Yeah,
but there's so many plot threads left open that these fucking writers were like, we're never going to give you a resolution to. Gordon's back as a Saw, like one of the Saw game masters. Mm-hmm. There's a Jigsaw cult that's taking place. Mm-hmm. There's one more envelope that we never saw. So Hoffman was given 5 envelopes. We saw 4 of those games play. There's one game that we don't know. There was a 6th one. No, but it's not that one. It's not in Saw 8. There's just so many plot threads. Like what happens to Hoffman.
Some of the plot is like really cool, but then, like you said,
Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that this movie was called The Final Chapter, meaning they really didn't intend on following up on any of it. I guess I never thought about that, because I remember when Jigsaw was announced, I was like, here we go, we're going to find out.
Me too. I was like, Gordon's going to be back, and it's so exciting, and we're going to, Hoffman, we're going to see if he dies or if he makes it out of that, like what's going on. And then we get Jigsaw, but we'll get into that right after Derek tells me what worked, what didn't.
For Saw 7, the traps are not, well...
No, yeah.
For Saw 7, there's some alright stuff, I'm sure. I didn't hate this movie. I think everything with Gordon and Hoffman is cool in this movie.
Sure, but the actual game kind of sucks.
Yeah. Bobby was terrible.
Well,
some of the Bobby traps
this is not one of my
cool.
favorites.
There were 2 cool traps that Bobby had to do. The neo-Nazi traps were cool. That all worked.
This, like I said, this isn't one of my favorites. It's just I think Saw 3 is worse.
The detectives, so here's one of the biggest flaws, is Hoffman has been trailed by a bunch of good detectives up to this point, but they're all dead now. So who do we get? We get this shitty loser and his partner. And they suck. They're so bad. The guy is so unbearably annoying. The one that's trying to track him, the main one, that he kills with the machine gun. It was like all of those characters were totally useless.
Well, this is my second least favorite Saw movie.
Your second least favorite?
His least favorite.
3 is my least favorite.
I don't know how. This is by far the worst Saw movie. Hands down.
I think so.
Terrible. A total disappointment. Aside from Gordon.
No piddle.
No piddle.
I might get a drop from
Gordon. That's where mine comes from. Is literally the last 5 minutes of this movie. I was like, yeah, here we go. This is good. Ready for the sequel.
Yeah, I am ready for the sequel.
Well, the sequel is called Jigsaw.
Yes, it is.
It came out
2017.
10 years later? 7 years later? Something like that. 7 to 10 years later.
Jigsaw is the best Saw movie that came out. in 2017.
Accurate, I guess.
Yeah, because I was trying to think, is it the only Saw movie to come out in the 2010s? Because then it's the best Saw movie of the 2010s.
No, I don't think so. I think Saw 7 came out in 2010.
Well, then it's still the best
It's
Saw
still
movie
the
of the
best one
2010s.
2010.
It is the Jigsaw. We're going to talk about Jigsaw, the best Saw movie of the decade.
Yes. The movie opens with a whole new series. I mean, it looks clean.
Yep.
It has a moderate budget, it seems.
I like it.
It actually has a pretty low budget, but it does a lot with it.
I like the look. It feels fresh.
And Hoffman and Gordon are nowhere to be seen, so this must be a whole new universe.
I think it's just 10 years later.
I think so too. But I'm disappointed.
I'm writing the alternate script as we speak.
Yeah.
It takes place in 2007 when the other ones take place.
The movie opens with a guy who has a trigger. His game is to start the games.
Yep.
That's his game.
That's his game.
Fucking
That's his
game.
game. Pulls the trigger to start the game.
Edgar, I believe.
This scene felt
was.
very Predator 2 to me. When he's up on the roof. Feels very Predator 2 at the opening when they got that scorpion dude pinned.
El Scorpio. Fucking El Scorpio.
So, yeah, he's up there. The cops all have him, like, locked on. He pulls the trigger to start the games, but then the cops, like, blast into him. He loses his hand. He gets shot once.
Well,
in the
aren't they
chest.
told, like, shoot him in the hand?
Yeah. One guy shoots him in the chest, and he's like, "Oh, fuck, shot him in the chest."
Sounds just like him, too.
I was going to say.
Now let the games begin. There are 5 people in a room with Chum Bucket
Chum
heads.
bucket.
This is what they look like.
And they've got leashes on their neck. The leashes start pulling them towards a wall of spinning saw blades. The game is for them to give even as much as one single drop of blood by cutting themselves on the saw blade, and they move on. The blades stop. So all they have to do is, like, slightly touch their finger against it, and the saw blades will stop. What they all decide to do is put their full fucking wrist onto the blade to, like, cut into it. Except for one, who gets, like, she won't do it, and then the thing spins her around, puts her back on it, another girl rips her off. So she's, like, really cut into
That
it.
was
This
Carly.
part, I think, is
Carly, yep.
hilarious.
And then there's a man who has slept through the
The
whole
buckethead
thing,
who
and he's
sleeps
just
through it
being
all?
dragged along.
That was
And he
so
wakes up,
funny.
Like 90, he's like right up against the wall when he wakes up, and he gets sawed.
Yeah, well, this is the first Saw movie that I've seen in theaters. And I remember when we were watching it, I turned to you, Kyle, and I said, like, how funny would it be if this guy just doesn't wake up? And then he actually doesn't wake up. I think that's hilarious. This movie, I think, is the funniest of the Saw movies.
Yeah. Saw 7 tried. It tried to be, like, self-aware and like, oh, look, I'm Scream. But it was so fucking terrible. It did not fit with it. Like, this one worked because...
It's a new feel.
Yeah, it's a new feel to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we find out that the movie takes place in the not-too-distant future as a team of medical experts examine body of Sleepy Elf who was dangling in the park. The one that... The buckethead that was sleeping.
Right.
Characters that we need to know that are introduced here are Halloran, who is the police chief, Nelson, who's the lead medical examiner, and his, like, little apprentice girl, Eleanor.
The hot one.
The hot one. I agree. I concur. She is the hot one.
I don't remember what she looks like.
Hot.
She was the hot one.
Just picture someone hot.
She had the red hair.
She was Asian.
No.
Oh.
She had red hair, glasses.
The body's, like, laying on the table, and its head was, like, sliced in half because of the saw blades.
Which was awesome.
Oh my god, it looked so
It looked
gross.
really good.
It was great.
Yeah. So good.
And the reason we know that this is the not-too-distant future is because they have, like, laser scalpels that they use. It's a little blue light that can saw through metal.
But everything else, nothing else is too futuristic. It's all within reason.
Which was good.
Which is
If
good.
they had, like, done Jigsaw in space, I would have been fucking pissed.
Flying cars. And
Yeah. I would have been so mad. I would have, like, wanted to just leave the theater. But I would have sat there because I'm a dedicated fan. Unfortunately. I'm dedicated to way too many things. I spent too much money, I'll tell you what. Main game. We pick back up with the other four. And their first test begins. Carly.
Technically second. Oh, first for...
Like, yeah, the first,
Okay.
actual,
Alright.
named test.
Alright.
Carly was a purse snatcher who stole a purse from a woman that contained her medicine. The woman died as a result of this because she did not have her medicine. Carly must now inject herself with a needle or all four of them will die of being strangled by their chains.
They're gonna be hanged.
Hanged. There are 3 needles with numbers on them. 2 are full of acid. The correct one is not. The question was, how much is a life worth to you? And Carly remembers that when she stole the purse, all she got out of it was $3.57 or something.
53 cents?
53 cents.
Got him. I like the little doll in this
scene.
scene.
Huh?
I like the little doll that rolls out.
Little Billy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that when he grabs the tape?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he grabs the tape.
Yeah, I like him in there. I remember initially I was like, well, that's stupid. When have we ever seen that doll move before? But no, in the first Saw, he straight up rolls out on the trike.
Yeah,
he also
Yeah.
comes and crashes into a window in the barbed wire noose of part 6.
Oh, yeah, that's 6.
And he smashes through in a bird cage in part 7.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with him moving. I think it's cool. I just wanted to clear it up for all those people that
I think were living in my head and knew that I had an issue with that when I first saw it. Inside of one of the needles is the number 353 or whatever it was. Yeah, 353.
Yep.
Which was the amount of money that she stole.
Oh, you said 357. You're thinking of the hot sauce.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
So that number is written inside of one of them. So obviously that's the one she needs to inject herself with. She audibly says this, but Ryan still crams all 3
Can you
of them.
blame him?
No, I can't, because they're all being strangled because she would not put one of them in her.
Yeah.
Well,
So
then he doesn't actually know. He doesn't know anything. So she says 353. He's like, "Are you sure? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to just inject this right away if that's not the right one. Because what if these are the numbers?
He didn't see that the numbers were inside of him.
Maybe not.
They see that afterwards, but she saw that the number was in it because that's what triggered her memory. Anyways, he stabs all 3 into her neck. They all drop because they passed the test. She injected herself. But
she was injected. She
was injected. The 2 with acid start boiling her face and spewing out of her neck.
That was cool. I thought.
In her ear.
Jesus, it was gross.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
This movie is fucking gross.
Yeah,
there's a lot of gross.
It's the
shit.
nastiest
I don't remember
one.
the Bucketheads guy, but I do remember this.
My God. It's a good image of that head laying back, and you can just. It's like a straight slice, and you can, or not a straight, an angled slice. So his brain is
from here to here,
and it chops off everything.
You can see his lower jaw.
Yeah. His tongue is sitting in there. Oh God, it's
nasty.
Gross.
And then the other part when they do an autopsy on Carly's body, they get in her mouth and move her tongue around and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks so good. I don't know. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well,
let the record show that I have only seen this movie once in theaters, so.
All right.
So now they continue. Ryan tries to cheat the game by disobeying the rules and leaving out of the door.
Yeah.
What happens is his foot breaks through a panel on the floor and gets ensnared in a razor wire trap. And anytime something touches the wires, it will tighten. And the only way to free himself is to pull a handle that will sever his leg. The game progresses when a light comes on in a grain silo. Mitch and Anna enter, since Ryan is still stuck, because he's not pulling the thing. They then become locked in the silo. The silo begins to fill with grain that will supposedly suffocate them unless Ryan severs his leg. Ryan does not sever his leg, and it fills up to about their neck. Then a bunch of sharp objects start falling and somehow don't land on anyone's head. I don't like that.
Well, one of the knives got in his shoulder. The other, there's 3 nails that got in the girl's arm.
But it's just and then 40 of them fall at once, and none of
and
it
the CGI
lands
looks
on
bad.
Anybody? Yeah, it looks real bad.
And then Ryan pulls the lever, and the CGI looks bad when it severs his legs.
But I did like that it did hamburger
pieces.
that one. Yeah. It splits his leg into 3 pieces.
Which is weird because the dead bodies look so good.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
where
'cause
do you
those
think
are probably practical.
Their budget
Yeah.
went?
Yeah.
No,
But don't you think they could have made like a practical prop that they?
For the leg, for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah. I guess I didn't
I
actually
think they
realize
should
they
have actually
didn't.
thrown saw blades at the two actors too. Would have made it look better.
I'm sure they could have just done 2 takes, one with them there and one without them there, and just thrown a bunch of shit down there, and then put them together.
Yeah. Ryan,
Ryan.
I think he's the most sympathetic one.
In this movie.
Yeah. Well,
He's the most likable character for sure.
yeah, he's funny. He's
Yeah.
likable. He's sympathetic. He kind of gets dicked over in the end, like
Yeah,
hard.
big time. Halloran insinuates that Nelson or Eleanor might be the ones playing the games because Nelson seems to be finding things on the body really quick. Like he said that it was hydrofluoric acid, like right off the bat when he was examining Carly's body, and he was like, "Well, how do you know that so quickly?" He's like, "Oh, because of my time in the war." And then they don't question him.
Yeah, he said something like, "I've seen it, but never injected."
Yeah.
So.
And then Eleanor just seems to be really into this like torture shit. Like this is how she gets off.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's her thing,
No kink shaming for the
yeah,
hottie.
no.
If she was chubby, then
yeah,
maybe.
if she was ugly, no way. But since she's hot, she gets away with it.
They then find that Eleanor is slightly obsessed with Jigsaw and is often on his like fan page, presumably created by the cult.
I like
maybe
how
that was a little tie. Maybe not.
you're just
I like how it's
stretching.
a deep web website,
Yeah.
but in reality, I don't know if it would really need to be a deep web website.
Yeah, I think
not.
anyone
They can get away with.
Probably
Yeah.
not. I'm sure it exists in the real world.
I mean, Jesus, you guys
Well, yeah,
know
people-
who Ed Gein is? He was like, he's the guy
Uh,
that Leatherface and
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill and
Yeah.
Norman Bates was based off of. People on Etsy sell recreations of the shit that he made it with people's skin. You can buy your very own nipple belt based off of Ed Gein from a little Etsy user, or your own human face lampshade. That's on there. So I definitely don't think that this would be a dark web website.
Oh. Well, and
Jigsaw thing.
people glorify like serial killers all the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're really interesting, but then you get to the point where you're like,
they're bad
Too
people. They're
far.
horrible people.
Eleanor is slightly obsessed with Jigsaw.
Dark web something.
yeah.
But to complicate matters, they find out that John Kramer's DNA was in the body of Carly.
Dun-dun-dun.
How
wasn't
was
it,
that?
it? Wasn't it her fingernails?
Yeah.
Or no, it was the guy with his head sliced off, his fingernails, because they
Okay.
noticed there was some struggle or whatever.
Yeah.
So they yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but they found
John
Anders
Kramer's DNA. But he's been dead
for 10 years.
10 years.
Which means this movie takes place in 2013.
We are with our 2 suspects. Nelson questions Eleanor about her alibi and demands to see where she really was when the murders went down. She takes her to her workshop, where she's been recreating a bunch of classic Jigsaw traps. It's a pretty fun scene, because you see a bunch of recreations of all the ones.
Yeah,
that
it's a
have been in
nice
the 7
throwback. You get to
movies.
see
Reverse Bear
the
Trap shows up again.
Yep.
the gun in the door.
Yep.
What's the first one you see? Oh, the Blood Eagle.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Lots
them
of good
in there.
ones in there.
The box, the water box
Yep.
that was on Strom's head, it's all in there. But Detective Hunt, which I didn't mention earlier, but he's working with Halloran on this case. He followed them there and is now taking pictures of them, which is bad news bears for the 2 suspects, because that seems pretty clear cut that they're the ones if they're in a warehouse of jigsaw traps. Meanwhile, someone wakes up what's his name? Edgar from the beginning. And he looks scared. We also see, like, this scene alone has to take place over hours because of what happens later. So it's Nelson and Eleanor are at the trap room, or the warehouse, and then Edgar wakes up, and then the next morning Nelson's back is covered in scars. Presumably from his time in war.
Yeah, they show the next scene. They show that he, what was it? Hunt was doing research on him.
Yeah.
And then they show that he was like it says something like brutally interrogated or something like that.
Yeah.
So they allude to the fact that he got those from being interrogated.
Yeah, we find out what they are later.
Yep. Back at the main game, only 3 remain. But this is Mitch's game at this point. Mitch is in the game because he sold a motorcycle to a kid with brakes that didn't work. The kid dies as a result, and we find out that the kid was Jigsaw's nephew. Plot thread that maybe we'll carry. I don't know. We'll see. Mitch gets hoisted up and dangled into a trap. A trap where razors like spin around him in like a corkscrew shape.
So the whole thing spins like super fast, and it's on a motorcycle like wheel.
Yep.
Spins it around, and it gets thinner as it goes down. So he has to like find a way to reach in, and there's a brake handle from a motorcycle. I guess if he squeezes it, then it stops the trap.
He didn't really reach how I thought he... If he'd, like, hand firsted it...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But he kind of, like, just head firsts it.
Yeah.
And so he gets himself...
Well, he was at first because he almost, like,
Yeah.
had a hand on it.
But then Anna had to go screw things up.
Well, she didn't even screw it up. She, like, would have bought him time, I would have thought.
Yeah, but he did not utilize it. So she jams, like, a rod inside the motorcycle tire, which pauses the machine. And instead of grabbing the brake and shutting it off, he looks up at her and, like, reaches to her, and he's like, oh, get me out of here. But then the rod dislodges from the wheel.
Yeah, it snaps.
And he gets grounded up, and it's another super, like, gross, grotesque image of his...
Yeah. I mean, you see it even better later, too.
Yeah.
And it was almost immediately, too, that they show you where the body goes.
Yeah.
You know what this movie could have used? A sick transition where you see his pile of guts hit the floor, or his body hit the floor, and then it pans up and you're in, like, the coroner's room or whatever. That would have been cool. That would have been like a Saw 4 level.
No transitions.
We've been missing those since the 4th Saw.
Back with the police. They dig up John Kramer's body, but instead find Edgar, the guy from the beginning.
Who started the game.
Who started the game.
Yeah, he was in a coma the whole time, and then...
Pretty much, and then he was woken up by some drug being injected into him.
Yeah, and then he ran away. Didn't he do something?
No, they just... The guy acting as Jigsaw killed him and put him in Jigsaw's grave.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow, the ground didn't look disturbed when they were digging him up. I don't know.
He's good.
They then go to investigate Eleanor's warehouse, and that's where they find Mitch's body, fall out of a closet. Hunt goes to Nelson's house to arrest him, but Nelson convinces Hunt that Halloran is the murderer, and Hunt is inclined to believe him since they have evidence that links Halloran to a bunch of other murders from the department's past. They check the bullet in the guy, in Edgar, the one that hit his chest, and it matches the gun Halloran uses. So now they're ready to move in and arrest Halloran. Eleanor goes to Nelson and says that she knows where the games are being played, and as they head there, Halloran stalks them there. Finally, at the end of the main game, Anna tries to escape but is caught by a pigman and brought to the final test along with Ryan. The pigman sets up a box that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what that box was.
Just like a box with a bunch of gears.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
I don't remember the box.
Yeah, because it didn't do anything.
Yeah. And it's revealed that it's John Kramer. But how? Because he's been dead for 10 years.
I already knew what was
happening.
happening.
Shut up. I'll get there.
I had already figured out the Zepp in this one.
I didn't. Maybe right here I did, but for the most part I didn't. He reveals why Ryan and Anna are actually in the game. In high school, Ryan was a reckless kid that caused a car accident where 3 people died. He then blamed it on his friend, but John knows the truth. I don't know how, but he does.
Yeah, I don't know how.
All-knowing.
He is all-knowing.
All-knowing.
Anna's the only one who really deserves to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Because John is just like a drunk teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan's like a drunk teenager. I hardly blame him.
No, Mitch was a kid who made a stupid decision and sold someone a motorcycle with faulty brakes, and that kid died. The guy that bought the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other one did rob a girl, and the girl died because she didn't have her meds.
Okay, at this point...
Ryan's the only one that doesn't deserve to be in here.
Well, Ryan and Sleeper, as we'll find out.
Well, but, I mean, yeah. And then Anna's, we find out, was...
It's a pretty rough one.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, she suffocated her baby and then put the baby next to her husband while he was sleeping and made it look like he had rolled over on the baby while he was sleeping and suffocated it. So that's pretty messed up.
He got arrested and has to live with the idea that he killed their child.
But he doesn't have to live with that idea because he killed himself.
Yep, he went inside and
he
hung himself. Huh. They showed a little snippet of his cell where he hung himself.
Yeah, that's the most fucked up shit in the whole movie.
Yeah.
She definitely deserved to die.
Which is okay, because she does.
And then John also reveals that someone made a careless mistake at the hospital that caused his misdiagnosis. He labeled the wrong x-ray to the wrong person. So the x-rays got swapped. Someone else got diagnosed with John's cancer, which caused them to not diagnose John with cancer. So it went untreated for too long and eventually got to a point where it would kill him. Let's see.
They break into the barn, don't they?
Yeah, I just put this last game all as one thing. The game that they must now play to survive is to work together to find a key. To the key to their collars. But the only tool John gives them is a loaded shotgun. John leaves the details vague, but holds up the shotgun shell, and says, "Here is your key to freedom." Eleanor assumes that she needs to shoot Ryan to escape. She pulls the trigger, but the gun blows up in her face and kills her. To make things worse for Ryan, the keys were inside of the shotgun shell and were destroyed because she pulled the trigger. And so now he's just there to die.
Yeah, but it's like so unfair for him. What's he supposed to do in this race? He's got 1 foot.
Yeah. Maybe he could have found a toilet thing to smash his foot. He would have had no feet at that point, but he would still be alive.
Yeah, that's rough.
Should have taken the shotgun and just slammed the butt against his foot.
Exactly, there you go. Freedom. He didn't have the will to survive.
Got him.
Obviously.
Back with our investigation. Hunt finds the carved out puzzle pieces in Halloran's fridge, so it's confirmed that he's Jigsaw. Halloran confronts Nelson and Eleanor in the barn where the games were taking place. Eleanor gets away, Halloran knocks out Nelson, and then Halloran gets jumped by a pig, and he and Nelson both wake up in the game room, the same place that the shotgun game took place. They have collars around their necks, and on the collars are the surgical laser cutters that will activate and slice their head into pieces if they don't confess as to why they deserve to die.
Apple core thing.
Yeah.
Nasty.
It looks like a Demogorgon once it finally happens, too.
Yeah, that's what I put in my notes. Halloran pretends he'll go first, but instead pushes the button on Nelson's side, forcing him to go first. Nelson confesses that he was the one that made the mistake at the hospital and caused Kramer's misdiagnosis. The lasers still turn on and kill Nelson. Now Halloran must confess. He confesses he's a corrupt cop and that he's caused the death of many. His lasers turn off just in time for him to notice that there are burn marks above his head, but not Nelson's, meaning that Nelson's lasers were not real, and it turns out Nelson was Jigsaw the whole time. It was a good mislead. I didn't see that coming.
Really? You didn't figure that one out?
I didn't.
I didn't know that Nelson was him, no.
I thought that Nelson was Jigsaw. The whole movie, I thought it was that girl until around the end, and I went, it's probably that doctor. But I had figured out the other Zep that the game had already been played 10 years ago. That it was Jigsaw's first game that we were watching the whole time, and that I didn't know how the bodies were turning up, but I had already figured out, this is like Saw 2.
So here's what happened. He used the game to record Halloran confessing so that he could completely frame all of the Jigsaw murders on Halloran. We then learn that the game we watched this whole time actually happened 10 years in the past, and that Nelson was the sleepy one who didn't wake up in time.
Which is why he has scars all over his back.
Which is why he has the scars on his back. Kramer took him in and made him his first apprentice, both because, the drugs lasted too long and he didn't wake up in time, which is an unfair game. And also, he felt that Nelson shouldn't have to pay for an honest mistake of accidentally switching the name tags.
Which kind of goes against some of the things that Jigsaw has done in the past, because he's killed
Yeah.
people for dumb reasons.
Yeah.
Like,
You mean what he will do in the future?
yeah, right.
Oh my god. Nelson then recreates the first game. Or he recreated the first game.
Yeah.
Which is why the bodies keep being found. Because it was a whole new game being
I didn't
played.
figure that out on my own.
Well, they explain it.
No, I know. I figured it out here. I didn't figure it out before this point.
Oh, okay. I was like, dude, they showed a scene where he...
He only used 3 people for this game to fill the places of himself, of Carly, and of the kid the motorcycle kid. I don't remember his name now.
Benjamin, we'll call him.
Because then the other 2 were the bodies at the end.
Yeah.
And then...
So he says that he and Halloran were the last 2 in the puzzle.
Yes.
Even though I think that in order to keep it 5-5, because Nelson wasn't actually playing the game, Edgar should have been the 5th one.
Yeah,
5th
okay.
player, technically.
Okay.
But I guess Nelson does survive both games, both times, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, Nelson and Halloran were the final 2. Nelson used Edgar as the guy in the beginning because Edgar was responsible for killing Nelson's wife. And now he's killing Halloran because Halloran was the one who fucked up Edgar's case and let Edgar go. Halloran's collar goes off and splits his head, and it looks like the mouth of the Demigorgon.
It does.
As Derek said.
It does, yeah, it does look sick, though.
And the movie ends. That's what we were left with.
Yeah,
What
well,
we're
it's
collected.
called a Demogorgon, not a Demigorgon.
Shut up.
I will kill you with a pendulum trap.
Oh, dude.
Unwinnable pendulum trap.
Someday you're going to listen back to these podcasts and you're going to hear you mispronounce so many words.
No,
Yes.
I won't care. It's spelt pendulum. And I still think that you're allowed to say pendulum.
Well, a lot of things are spelled ways that you shouldn't.
So besides my mispronunciation, what works, what doesn't?
A lot of it works.
I thought most of it worked.
Yeah,
I did
a lot
too.
of it works.
I think this is
I was-
one of the best Saw movies.
I was real fucking salty that they didn't pick up on the Part 7 plot threads, which took away from it a little bit.
I didn't care.
But,
I was happy that it wasn't bad.
yeah.
I liked it.
Because
It
a lot
was
of the time it was
surprisingly
gonna.
good.
A lot of the times these movies that come out much later, after a terrible movie, just do absolute garbage.
Yeah.
But no, this was good. This was a.
It actually made like 10 times its own budget. It was made for $10 million. It made $108 million.
This might be my 4th favorite Saw movie. It's because my order goes... Oh, wait. No. Yeah.
Just do what works, what doesn't, and then we'll do that.
Okay, well, I think all of it works.
There's nothing in this movie that you dislike?
I think the twists are kind of obvious.
I didn't.
I don't think they're too obvious.
You've just seen too many Saw movies.
For me, they were kind of... Well, because, yeah, it's like we've already seen both twists. We've already seen the twist of, oh, this person who you think is a good guy is actually Jigsaw. And we've also seen, oh, you think this game is playing at the same time? Nope, it played way before.
Yeah. Oh, I was trying to solve the puzzle the whole time, but I never did. But I thought it was great. I thought the music in this was actually... It wasn't the exact same. It had a more, like, synth sound to it because it was supposed to be slightly more updated. And I thought it sounds great. I guess I don't want to say synth because that's pretty 80s. It had a more electronic sound to it, which I liked.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like was some of the players in the game. Their acting was not great.
Yeah, maybe
Like,
if I...
Carly wasn't very good.
Maybe if I had just watched it again, I'd agree, but...
Anna wasn't great. But for the most part, the acting in the movie was fine.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And I am excited. They say that a 9th one's confirmed.
Ayo.
But I can't find any like official evidence of that. It was so what I found was that Tobin Bell, who plays John Kramer, is going through a divorce right now.
Uh-oh.
His divorce filings were made public, and in it, half of his earnings from Saw 9 will be split between him and his ex-wife. as part of the divorce settlement. But we haven't seen Saw 9.
So he's like, give me twice what you
Yeah,
would
right.
originally.
He's just gonna make the shittiest movie he can, and it's gonna lose money. And then he's like, "All right, you owe me money because we lost money."
His wife has to pay him.
Yeah.
But if another one comes out, I'd be real excited for it. Because I think at that point, they'd have to bring back some of the Part 7 plot threads.
Yeah,
They'd weave in this movie. Because I think that they didn't bring in the Part 7 plot threads.
Because they didn't want to confuse people.
Because, yeah, it's been too long. The other movies had basically come out on a yearly basis.
Oh, yeah.
So people were, they kept up with the story. But 7 years went by between this and the last one.
There was like a new generation.
Right.
Yeah.
So people wouldn't understand who Hoffman was, who Gordon was, why that was all exciting. So they made a standalone Saw movie that fits within the universe pretty well.
And then now they can make...
Now they can make
another one
Yeah.
for 7 for the longtime fans.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Now, should we rank them? Oh,
If you can.
I piddled, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Solid piddle.
Yeah, good solid piddle for me as well.
I don't know if I could rank them all, but I might say...
Give us your top 5 and your bottom 2.
Just don't say one of the movies then. You can leave whatever that more middle one was.
My top 3 would be 1, 2, and 7.
1, 2, and 7?
Or 1, 2, and 8, sorry.
Yeah, I was
7.
like,
Solid
so-
pick with 7.
Plot twist.
That was the final Zep.
Yeah, Jesus. It's like, oh my god.
Ba-da-da-da-da. Yeah, 1, 2, and 8.
1, 2, and 8. Bottom 2, bottom 3.
7. God, I'm trying to remember because they start like blending together.
I think you mean to say 3.
7. Well, I know 3, but I don't know if I want to.
I feel like which other one is bad.
I think from
7,
what you
3,
guys said
maybe
earlier, 5 was
5?
probably. Because
Yeah.
6 was
We'll
the
see.
carousel one.
Oh yeah, yeah, no 5.
Again, I
Let's
don't
just
even
leave
remember
7
what
to
was
2.
5 about at this point. What was it about? It's forgettable. Oh,
No,
it's the
it's
one where
not.
they all have to work together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. So
Yep,
since
no.
it's forgettable, 5.
Yes.
It's only forgettable to me now because we've talked about all of them. They've all blended into one movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
they don't have Dead Meat's final captions for them. I can't be like,
Yeah, the
Saw 5,
the
work together
insurance
one. Or
one.
whatever it was.
If I were to rank the Saw movies, top to bottom,
Go for it.
2,
Okay.
4,
Yep.
Jigsaw,
Yep.
1,
Yep.
6. Oh shoot, nope, I put 6 over 1. 6, okay, so it goes 2, 4, Jigsaw 6, 1, 5, 7, 3.
Oh.
Surprise
you had
1
me-
is like right in the middle there.
Yeah, you had me with the beginning of that. I would go 2, 4, Jigsaw, 1, 6, 5, 3, 7.
Well, you're wrong. Podcast over.
Not over.
Oh.
Was this the greatest franchise ever made?
No, Predator's better.
You think Predator's better?
I have much more fun with the Predator movies.
I want to say Saw's better. I love
also
Saw.
want to say
I
Saw is better.
love Saw.
So unfortunately, I think that this is going to have to go off of the majority rules.
I think-
Unless we do some kind of vote system.
Well, that would be you two voting against
No,
me.
I
Yeah.
mean like
with all of us, or what?
if we could make a vote that our viewers.
Oh, but probably no one made it this far, so
No. I think
I think it's
we'll have to go
majority
majority
rules.
And on episodes where there's 4 of us, we'll have to do the AGT rules where if it's a tie, then it's a loser. I think that's what we'll do. So if we had one other person here who agreed with you, then Predator would stay the winner.
Here's the thing. The Predator movies are much more entertaining because they've got a monster in them, or an alien, I guess.
I don't know. I think if you really wrap yourself into the Saw storyline and like have fun with the characters and have fun with, like Hoffman dodging the cops and Strom trying to catch Hoffman and all of the plot twists, it's just so crazy and fun. and the traps are so brutal and violent. It's I would give.
But there's not a single scene in a Saw movie where someone fires a rope out of their wrist and decapitates 6 guys at once. Because that was awesome.
But there's really no big plot twists in any of the Predators.
Yeah.
What about that one time when Danny Glover survived?
It's not a plot twist. That's just how it ends.
Danny Glover survived.
Remember that plot twist when 2 of them survived Saw 5 because they both cut into themselves? No, that's not a plot twist. It's just how it ends. It's the end of the movie.
Danny Glover survived in both of these franchises.
Unless he
Saw.
dies in the video game.
I mean,
Yeah, if you
in
play the
parts
video
of-
game, he does. From what Dead Meat says, he kills himself at the end.
I did
played
remember
a lot of it,
hearing
but I
about
didn't
him
finish
dying.
it. But yeah.
Well, I guess I'm outvoted. I quit the podcast.
but, well, I mean, hey, we got Halloween come up next.
And
So
that will take the cake. So
would
Well,
would you have voted Predator over Halloween?
no.
Then, if you like Halloween so much, wouldn't matter.
Yeah. you're
Here's what I'm gonna say right here, right now. Before doing my Halloween marathon, I would keep Saw as a franchise over Halloween as a franchise because Halloween has a few, like 2
Real big
really
stinkers.
good movies,
It's got
and
a
then
few
the rest of them are
stinkers in
kind of
there.
okay. This franchise, I think, had a lot that works better than what the Halloween franchise does. But we'll get to that on Halloween when the Halloween episode drops.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it might
Oh, yeah.
end up being the best.
So we'll see. But for now, Saw is the greatest franchise ever.
Tune in next
Saw 7
week.
is the worst Saw movie, undisputedly. Derek has no valid opinions
Apparently.
anymore.
I've been
I think-
outvoted twice now.
A fair amount of piddling happened in this episode.
I
There's
think
a little-
Saw 2 between the 3 of us is
The best.
One of the
Universally
best.
the best. If,
All right, well,
yeah.
you can go ahead and take us out.
I was
Finish
gonna
the
say,
game.
tune in next week for some more movie talk of Halloween related content.
Yes, next week we will be talking about our favorite underrated horror movies.
now underrated kind of loosely. Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah, because Alex picked one that people highly regard.
Well, yeah, but it's not like a big franchise.
Yeah, it's not a big franchise name. So that's the stipulation, is we can pick our favorite horror movie that's not part of a major franchise, essentially, is what we're going for.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, but because neither of you have seen it, that
Yeah.
to me says that it was lesser known enough that I could get other people to
And we
watch
might
it.
be able to get the Dalton in here for the next one, potentially,
Yeah.
but probably not.
Right. He doesn't watch horror movies, so he doesn't have an answer.
All I was gonna say is like Scooby-Doo. That's all he's ever seen.
Alright, well, if we don't wrap this one up soon, I'm going to piddle all over myself. I have
Me
to
too.
pee real bad. Thank you all for listening, boys and gentlemen. See you next time for the next one. Next week. Every
Game
Sunday.
over.
Game over. I
was
said it
gonna-
first.
I was gonna say it.
Go, if you want to say it.
Game over.
Game over.
That'd be
Anybody else want to say it again?
Oh wait, before we finish, so I don't have to dub this in uncomfortably this time. Leave us your opinions of what happens of the Saw movies. What's your favorite traps? What's your favorite plot twists? What do you think of the films in general?
Who's your favorite
Put it all-
actor that plays Zepp? Let us know down below.
Put it all in the comments section.
Is it better than Predator?
Is it better than Predator? Yeah.
And tell us once more, whose playlist did you pick?
Click on screen now if you want to watch another episode of the Extremely Low Budget Podcast. And until next time, game over. You guys didn't catch I was trying to do a big group game over.
Oh.
Ready?
Game over.